Chapter 129. Ah! After the young girl fell into Yang Wu's arms, her screams did not stop. She wrapped herself around Yang Wu like an octopus, and her towering body pressed down on Yang Wu's face, causing Yang Wu's nose to bleed. The young girl felt something strange. She lowered her head and cried out, "Ah, you're injured." After saying this, she used her delicate hand to wipe away the blood from Yang Wu's nose. Yang Wu pulled her down and said, "Don't move, there are still swamp spike crocodiles." This time, the young girl was scared and once again hugged Yang Wu tightly. Yang Wu's injury became even more serious, and his nose continued to bleed. Fortunately, Yang Wu still maintained a bit of vigilance. He felt that the stronger swamp spike crocodiles were coming for him, so he did not continue to fight. Holding the young girl, he began to run. Yang Wu's speed was very fast. Even if he was carrying the petite young girl, he was not affected at all. Behind them, the swamp spike crocodiles were chasing. Yang Wu did not know how long he had been running, but he saw a thick ghost tree. He quickly jumped up the ghost tree. Yang Wu held the young girl with one hand and climbed quickly with the other. In one breath, they had already reached the top of the ghost tree. They were already 300 to 400 feet away from the surface of the swamp, and had reached a safe position. The swamp crocodiles below them cried out again and again, but they had no way to attack Yang Wu and the others. However, they did not immediately retreat. Instead, they stood guard at the bottom of the tree, waiting for Yang Wu and the others to come down. Yang Wu let out a sigh of relief. As long as he adjusted himself, it would not be a problem to go back and kill them. At this time, he put the frightened young girl to the side and said, "Don't hold me so tightly. You're squeezing me so hard that I can't breathe." Yang Wu directly pointed at the young girl's chest. To be honest, the soft and elastic feeling was really good. The girl's face instantly turned as red as blood. She let go of Yang Wu and said shyly, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it." Yang Wu looked at the girl who knew her mistake and waved his hand. "All right, it's fine. You stay here, I'll go down and kill them all." Don't go, okay? I'm scared." The girl grabbed Yang Wu's hand and said nervously, "If you're scared, then how did you get in here?" Yang Wu asked curiously. "It was my senior brothers and sisters who brought me in. They said that this is a place of tempering and that it can allow us to improve our strength faster. Then, we can escape when Amei recruits a new batch of outer disciples in half a year," the young girl replied without any ulterior motives. "Is Mount Amei recruiting new disciples?" Yang Wu asked. Mount Amei was one of the main powers of the country. They belonged to the transcendent realm and were above the secular world. Everyone would feel honored to be able to join the transcendent realm. As long as one could enter the transcendent realm, they would have the qualifications to seek immortality. Mount Amei just happened to be within the territory of the Grand Xia Empire. However, the Grand Xia Empire was only a subordinate country and could not be compared to Mount Amei. That's right. The triennial disciple recruitment is coming soon, so we must become even stronger. Otherwise, if we are eliminated, we would have let down the Imperial College's expectations of us," the young girl said softly. "You are a disciple of the Grand Xia Empire's Imperial College?" Yang Wu asked. "That's right, my name is Lin Qiqi and I'm from the Great Xia Dynasty's Lin clan. We've been training in the mountain range for more than a month. A few days ago, we got separated from His Highness the Fifth Prince and the others and accidentally entered this swamp. My senior brothers and sisters died trying to fend off these swamp-barbed crocodiles." The young girl named Lin Qiqi started to explain. When she spoke of her sadness, she started to cry. She looked so pitiful. The Imperial College was an institution that recruited geniuses from all over the country. This institution not only nurtured the strongest heavens chosen of the Grand Xia Empire, it was also an important channel to send them to Mount Amei. In other words, if the citizens of Xia wanted to enter Mount Amei to study, they would have to go through the nurturing and selection process of the Imperial College. Only then would they have the qualifications to compete with the other heavens chosen of the various countries for the opportunity to enter Mount Amay. Yang Wu had long heard of the Imperial College. Initially, his goal was to enter the Imperial College. However, the minimum requirement to enter the Imperial College was to reach the warrior rank. Regardless of whether you were from the royal clan or a noble clan, as long as you did not reach the warrior rank, you would not have the qualifications to enter the Imperial College. Furthermore, you had to be below the age of 18. Back then, Wan Lanxin had entered the Royal Academy to learn martial arts. Unfortunately, due to her age, she missed the opportunity to go to Mount Amay for the examination. Therefore, she had only stayed in the academy for a year before following her father to the Wolf Smoke Mountain prison. Yang Wu did not expect the young girl in front of him to be a heavens chosen of the Imperial College. He asked, "This time, the leader of your group is the fifth prince?" "Yes, it's a pity that we split up. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so tragic," Lin Chichi said in a pitiful voice. "Then you stay here. I'll bring you to him later." Yang Wu decided to be a good person to the end. Actually, in his heart, he wanted to befriend the fifth prince and see if he could use his relationship with the fifth prince to clear his name from the Yang family. "That's great. Thank you." Lin Chichi smiled happily. Yang Wu smiled and was about to come down from the ghost-shaped tree when he glanced at Lin Chichi and asked in surprise, "What's that?" Immediately after, he straightened his body and looked at a cluster of densely packed vines on another branch. After looking at it for a while, he realized that it was a huge bird's nest. In the nest, there were 3 fist-sized bird eggs. He said in realization, "So it's a bird's nest. Hey, there are 3 bird eggs. Let's take them back and hatch them. We can cultivate them as mount," Lin Chichi said in surprise. Yang Wu also had the same idea. However, when he suddenly saw the vines on the nest, he felt a sense of familiarity. His eyes narrowed and he said softly, "Soul-contacting Vine King. Not good. Let's go." Without thinking, Yang Wu pulled Lin Chichi and slid down. For a bird's nest to be made from a soul-contacting Vine King, even if he was an idiot, he could guess what level of existence the owner of the nest was. Lin Chichi, who had just calmed down, was frightened again. She said anxiously, "What are you doing? The swamp-barbed crocodiles are still down there." Yang Wu didn't have time to reply before he heard a cry piercing through the sky. The giant bird that blotted out the sky flew over from the distance. The giant bird was flying towards the ghost-shaped tree. It was obvious that it was the owner of the nest. If this was just an ordinary bird, Yang Wu would not be afraid of it at all. However, the aura it released had reached the level of a demon king. Its spread wings rippled, creating a storm. In a few blinks of an eye, it was above their heads. The swamp-barbed crocodiles under the ghost-shaped tree were so frightened that they immediately disappeared into the swamp. This was a kind of flesh-eating demon bird. It was ferocious and specialized in hunting all kinds of beasts and demons. The swamp-barbed crocodiles were its food. Yang Wu and Lin Chichi were both scared out of their wit. Lin Chichi even burst into tears on the spot. "I don't want to die. I'm still in my prime. In the future, there will definitely be a place for me among the fairies of Mount Amay. How can I die here?" Yang Wu didn't have time to comfort Lin Chichi. After he pulled her to the surface of the swamp, he ran like crazy. He didn't know where to go. Running for their lives was more important. However, the flesh-eating demon bird didn't plan on letting them go. It crushed the ghost-shaped tree one by one and clawed at them with its sharp claws. The situation was very dangerous. He didn't think about it and threw Lin Chichi away. "You go first." Then, Yang Wu pulled out the double-edged tri-dragon spear and released the will of death. His body burst out with the aura of a king, and he stabbed upward with all his strength. In an instant, a force of 300 to 400 feet long shot up into the sky. The dense will of death filled the sky, and even the flesh-eating demon bird felt a trace of fear. The flesh-eating demon bird was a high and mighty demon king. Naturally, it wouldn't back down. Its sharp claws crushed Yang Wu's dark spear. Fortunately, it couldn't completely ignore Yang Wu's will of death. It was disturbed to a certain extent and didn't immediately attack a second time. Yang Wu didn't continue to run. He used the Supreme Nine Mysteries formula and the Dragon Turtle Water Suppression stance, and completely released the prenatal mysterious essence Qi in the Peach Pit. The blood kept surging and his status rose steadily. His combat power reached a limit. He pointed the double-edged tri-dragon spear at the flesh-eating demon bird and shouted, "We didn't touch your eggs. Don't force me to die with you. A little human dares to be so arrogant? You're not even enough to fill the gaps between my teeth." The flesh-eating demon bird let out an ear-piercing cry, and then swooped down again. Its wings swept up two storms directly toward Yang Wu. This flesh-eating demon bird was too cunning. It didn't approach Yang Wu, and instead chose to attack from a distance. In this way, Yang Wu's will of death wouldn't be able to pose too much of a threat to it. Yang Wu could only brace himself and attack. He wanted to completely shatter the flesh-eating demon bird's attack. Boom! Boom! The might of a king was inviolable. Although Yang Wu was strong, he wasn't strong enough to contend with a king. His attack was completely shattered. The mysterious armor on his body was instantly shattered by the power of the wings. The clothes on his body were also tattered, leaving only the golden silk armor to protect his vitals. He fell into the swamp, and his body was covered in blood. He looked extremely miserable. Not far away, Lin Qiqi was scared out of her wits. Even the young man who had just saved her couldn't withstand it. Would she still be alive? Become my food. The flesh-eating demon bird thought that Yang Wu was dead, and swooped down to grab Yang Wu. But at this time, an even stronger sense of death enveloped it, causing its spirit to immediately shrink. It was so frightened that it immediately wanted to retreat, but a spear light that contained a powerful force had already ruthlessly pierced its lower abdomen. Chapter 130. The way of death was terrifying because it could make people feel like they were about to die. It could even make any living thing die. Yang Wu's flower of death hadn't bloomed yet, but the will of death was enough to affect the will of a king. Yang Wu was able to form the flower of death because he had absorbed the will of death of the rose of death. It was so strong that even he couldn't control it easily. After Yang Wu was injured by the flesh-devouring demon bird king, he felt like he was about to die. The will of death was especially prominent. The closer he was to death, the stronger his will would be. This was the way of death. The flesh-devouring demon bird swooped down and was immediately affected by the way of death. It felt terrified and panicked. It was still able to maintain a trace of consciousness and wanted to retreat, but how could Yang Wu let go of such an opportunity? Yang Wu had the protection of the gold-threaded silkworm armor. Even if he was heavily injured, he wouldn't die. Using the will of death, he exploded with the most powerful attack. The double-blade three-dragon spear stabbed up. The power that exploded out was definitely his strongest attack so far. The mysterious essence Qi was like a heavenly pillar. The sharp light pierced through the flesh-devouring demon bird's thick skin and flesh, piercing its lower abdomen and causing it to bleed. It screamed in pain. Screech! The flesh-devouring bird was worthy of being a demon king after all. Even after being heavily injured by Yang Wu, it was still able to soar into the air once more. It actually did not have the courage to stay any longer, directly flying away from there. The flesh-devouring demon bird king's life force was indeed tenacious. If it wasn't for the fact that it was afraid of Yang Wu's way of death, it would have definitely captured Yang Wu. Not far away, Lin Qiqi, who hadn't left, was shocked by this scene. She came from the Royal Academy and had seen many geniuses of the same age. However, this was definitely the first time she had seen such a powerful young genius like Yang Wu. She thought to herself, could he be one of those geniuses from the Kingdom Protector faction? She definitely didn't believe that there was such a powerful existence in the mortal world. He had just repelled a true demon king. Even if he had paid a heavy price, it wasn't something that just anyone could do. Oh no. Lin Chichi saw that Yang Wu was about to sink into the swamp. She came back to her senses and cried out. She quickly flew towards Yang Wu. Just now, Yang Wu had been seriously injured and had used all his strength to launch an attack. Whether it was in terms of spirit or strength, he had entered a state of emptiness. How could he still maintain the ability of the dragon turtle water suppressing stance? His body sank into the swamp. If there was no time to rescue him, even if he did not suffocate in the swamp, he would be eaten alive by the swamp crocodiles below. Lin Chichi had the sapphire boots, so she didn't sink into the swamp. She quickly flew over. When Yang Wu had completely sunk into the swamp, she pulled him up. However, the swamp was too sticky. She couldn't pull him up immediately. She hesitated for a moment, then put her hands under Yang Wu's ribs. She leaned heavily against Yang Wu's back and lifted Yang Wu up. Yang Wu was in a state of emptiness. His way of death was about to start devouring the flower of God's court again. He had no time to enjoy Lin Chichi's warm embrace. The reason why he couldn't control the consciousness of death was because his cultivation level was too low. The flower of God's court wasn't powerful enough, so he couldn't completely suppress it. Now that the two flowers were fighting, he was in danger of going mad again. Fortunately, Yang Wu was different from last time. Many of his acupoints had been opened, and the 6 strange meridians connected his entire body, so it was much easier for him to use his strength. Moreover, the flower of God's court had become much stronger after the second refinement, so he was able to suppress the Tao flower of death again very quickly and make it calm down. When Yang Wu regained his consciousness, he felt that he was being squeezed by something soft. It was very comfortable. He opened his eyes slightly and knew what was going on. He instinctively wanted to break free from Lin Chichi's embrace. Lin Chichi said gently, "Don't move. You're heavily injured." When Yang Wu heard Lin Chichi say that, he continued to lean into her embrace. He enjoyed this rare and wonderful feeling. He thought to himself, this feeling is even more comfortable than being hugged by Sister Lan Xian. Yang Wu didn't become confused because he enjoyed being in a woman's embrace. They were still in the swamp. Swamp crocodiles could appear at any time. He had to recover as soon as possible. Yang Wu had refined his martial body to the limit twice in a row. Under the circulation of his body, the remaining energy from his peach core dantian was enough for him to recover quickly. Lin Chichi carried Yang Wu to a demon-shaped tree. She didn't dare to walk around carelessly for the time being. She was a coward, so she only hoped that Yang Wu could recover quickly. She placed Yang Wu in a place where there was no swamp. Then, she took out a healing pill and fed it to Yang Wu. She said, "Recover quickly or else we'll all die here." After Yang Wu swallowed the healing pill, he recovered even faster. After a while, there was no longer any pain on his body. However, his dantian was still weak. He needed some time to completely recover. Lin Chichi leaned against Yang Wu. Her body was trembling, and her tears flowed pitifully. It was obvious that she was suffering from great fear and grievance. "Fifth Prince, eldest senior brother, where are you? I'm afraid that I won't be able to see you again in this lifetime." Lin Chichi sobbed to herself. Lin Chichi didn't realize that at this time, her divine court was being disturbed by soul power, causing her to hallucinate. She saw Yang Wu as the 5th prince she secretly loved, and this 5th prince was confessing to her. "Chi-Chi, don't cry. I'm by your side to protect you. I love you. 5th prince, you're not lying to me, right? Don't you already have someone you like?" "Why would I lie to you? Since the first time I saw you, I've been deeply captivated by you. Can I kiss you now? I also like you, 5th prince. Treat me well." Lin Chichi's mind was in a mess. She hugged Yang Wu and started rubbing against him, causing Yang Wu's vigorous body to be unable to take it anymore. "This can't be an illusion, right? Yang Wu thought to himself. At the same time, he used the power of the divine court flower bud to figure out if he was in an illusion again. This time, there was nothing strange in the divine court. It was very normal. This meant that he wasn't being attacked by soul power. Then, everything in front of him was real. Touch me. Lin Qiqi's face was flushed red. She grabbed Yang Wu's hand and pressed it against her perky part. This time, Yang Wu couldn't help but have a nosebleed. Don't be like this. I'm not a casual person, Yang Wu shouted in his heart. Yang Wu felt like he was about to lose control. His breathing became extremely rapid, and he had the urge to do Lin Qiqi on the spot. Fifth Prince, you're so nice, Lin Qiqi said with incomparable satisfaction. When Yang Wu heard this, it was as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over him. He instantly sobered up. She's in an illusion. Yang Wu didn't hesitate to smack Lin Qiqi on the back of her neck, knocking her out on the spot. Yang Wu took a deep breath to suppress the fire in his body. He calmed himself down and used the spiritual power in the divine court flower bud to sense the situation around him. Soon, he was resisted by the same power. His spiritual power seemed to be isolated by something, and he couldn't go any further. Furthermore, there was an even stronger power that was stimulating his divine court. This power is clearly stronger than the power of the soul contact vine from before. It should be the soul contact vine king, Yang Wu muttered to himself with a look of pleasant surprise. He withdrew his spiritual power. He still hadn't mastered it freely, so it was fine for him to defend. If he wanted to attack, he still needed to have a better understanding of his spiritual power. Right now, what he needed to do was to retrieve the soul contact vine king. Then, everything would be solved. He put Lin Qiqi aside and rushed over to the location he had sensed earlier. When he got closer, vines came from all directions to bind his feet. This wasn't an illusion, but real vines. These vines appeared and disappeared mysteriously. Yang Wu was caught off guard and his feet were bound by them. Moreover, they were binding his body. Yang Wu responded immediately. He slashed wildly with his iron blade, but he couldn't completely cut off these vines. He cried out involuntarily, "So tough!" Just as he was about to be completely bound by these vines, he had no choice but to use the double-edged three-dragon spear. He forced out sharp xianqi to break these vines. After all, the double-edged three-dragon spear was a royal armament. It was even sharper than the iron blade. Yang Wu waved the double-edged three-dragon spear repeatedly, cutting off many of the vines that were spreading over. He opened his divine sense to the maximum to sense the whereabouts of the soul contact vine king. Soon, he found the location of the soul contact vine king and quickly rushed over. At the same time, he felt a strong impact of soul power. This power was almost too much for his god's court flower bud to bear. If it were anyone else, they would probably be disturbed by this power, fall into an illusion, and be tortured to death. More and more vines rushed out. The swaying vines turned into many sharp blades that attacked Yang Wu. Unfortunately, their power was limited, and they couldn't withstand a single blow from Yang Wu. When these vines were all broken, Yang Wu finally saw the soul contact vine king. It was rooted in the swamp, and its vines were stronger than the soul contact vines he had obtained before. Furthermore, it was emitting a bright light, which was very tempting. "I've finally found you," Yang Wu said happily as he guarded his mind. Chapter 131. The soul contact vine king could boost a person's mental strength, which was also a type of soul power. It was an extremely nourishing medicine for both ordinary people and martial artists. If one was lucky, they could even comprehend the ability to create illusions from the soul contact vine king. This was a skill that martial artists yearned for even in their dreams. Yang Wu was not seeking additional skills, but for Shouho. As long as he could save Shouho, he was willing to pay any price. It was impossible for ordinary people to easily obtain the soul contact Vine King because it could create illusions on one's mental strength. Furthermore, there was the binding attack of the vine grass. Even if a king came, he might not be able to deal with it. Martial artists at Yang Wu's level would die no matter how many of them came. Fortunately, Yang Wu had already condensed the god's court flower bud and had encountered a spirit-level soul contact vine's attack, so he was able to guard against the soul contact vine king's attack and successfully obtain it. After Yang Wu took down the soul contact vine king, a large number of poisonous insects rushed out to attack him. There were snakes, scorpions, ants. There was an astonishing number of them. The poison they spat out was extremely strong, and their numbers were terrifying. Anyone who saw them would feel their scalp tingle. Yang Wu did not want to be entangled with them. After taking the soul contact Vine King, he rushed back to Lin Qiqi's position. Just as he returned to Lin Qiqi's location, he discovered that some poisonous insects were about to latch onto Lin Qiqi. He hurriedly chased these poisonous insects away, then carried her in his arms. After determining the direction they came from, he used all his strength to chase them out of here. Yang Wu's strength had not recovered, but after his mental strength recovered, he was able to circulate the highest 9 profound illusions and dragon turtle water suppressing stance to absorb the mystic water here, quickly replenishing the energy in his dantian. The energy here contained poison. Once someone absorbed it, they would show signs of being poisoned. However, Yang Wu did not have such a reaction. This was because his peach core dantian was different. Even if it absorbed mottled energy, or even poisonous energy, it could purify and extract the purest energy. While Yang Wu was running, the energy that poured into his legs was the most majestic. His strength was rapidly recovering, and his recovery speed was astonishing. Lin Qiqi, who was in Yang Wu's arms, didn't wake up. Instead, she was like a sleeping child, leaning into Yang Wu's arms. That heavy position was pressing down on Yang Wu. It was definitely a great test for Yang Wu's mind and body. The swamp was filled with danger, but Yang Wu still relied on his powerful senses to avoid some dangerous attacks. After running for a while, he finally saw the shore of the swamp again. He breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. I'm finally out. This damned place is really scary. Ever since he came in, he had not had a moment of peace. If he did not have some trump cards, he would have died here. However, when he returned to the shore, he did not see Little Hay. Instead, he sensed people rushing in his direction. Yang Wu instinctively wanted to avoid them, but after thinking about it, he realized that this was not the territory of any family. Moreover, with his strength, if there were no king-level powerhouses, he would not be afraid at all. Why should he avoid them? Thinking of this, Yang Wu felt at ease. He chose a clean place where there was no poison and put Lin Qiqi down. When he put Lin Qiqi down, the group of people finally appeared not too far away from him. Among them, one of them shouted, "Bastard, let go of Junior Lin." There were a total of 7 people in the group, 5 males and 2 females. 6 of them looked like teenagers, and only one of them looked like an old man. They were all wearing the specially made noble clothes of the royal school. Even if they were a little damaged, it was easy to tell them apart. The 7 of them quickly rushed towards Yang Wu, all of them brandishing their weapons. One of the hot-tempered teenagers even charged towards Yang Wu angrily. Yang Wu dodged the other party's attack and shouted back, "Don't mess around, I didn't do anything to her. You still dare to refute? You obviously wanted to do something to Junior Lin. I'll kill you, you pervert." The hot-tempered teenager shouted, once again charging towards Yang Wu with his weapon held horizontally. This teenager already had the strength of a high-level warrior. This talent was not weak, but this kind of strength was not enough to threaten Yang Wu. Yang Wu dodged the teenager's attack once again and said in a low voice, "Don't provoke me again, or I'll beat you until you have to look for your teeth on the ground." The hot-tempered teenager's 2 consecutive attacks had failed, and his face was a little embarrassed. He drew out all of his strength and slashed out his ultimate move. A single spark makes a prairie fire. The hot-tempered teenager's body released a fiery light, from a single spark to an astonishing power of flames, wanting to kill Yang Wu in one move. Junior brother Liao's single spark makes a prairie fire, has already reached the level of proficiency. It's pretty good. Among the few teenagers, a teenager who was clearly the leader said with his hands behind his back. This teenager had sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes. He wore a golden flood dragon crown on his head, a purple belt around his waist, purple gold boots on his feet, and a golden flood dragon longsword on his back. There was no doubt about his noble temperament. The ordinary-looking middle-aged man stuck close to the teenager's side. It was obvious that he was protecting the teenager's safety. If junior brother Liao hears the fifth prince's praise, he'll definitely be wild with joy. Beside the teenager, a gorgeously dressed girl said in a sweet voice. In the next moment, they saw the teenager they thought highly of have his wrist grabbed by Yang Wu. Yang Wu pulled him forward and tripped him. A simple response caused the hot-tempered teenager to fall on dog shit. Ouch! The hot-tempered teenager cried out in pain. One or two of his front teeth were broken and fresh blood seeped out of his mouth. He looked extremely pathetic. Yang Wu said faintly, "I'll say it again. I didn't do anything to her. If you don't believe me, you can ask her properly when she wakes up. If you continue to pester me, don't blame me for being impolite." What big words. Do you know who we are? Another teenager from the royal school scolded. I don't care who you are, as long as you don't provoke me. Yang Wu replied without any trace of politeness. The other party was a bunch of arrogant fellows. He didn't have the mood to talk nonsense with them. If they continued to talk nonsense, he would beat them up until even their mothers couldn't recognize them. I'm going to kill you. The hot-tempered teenager who had crawled up once again charged towards Yang Wu. Before he could attack Yang Wu, the teenager with the golden flood dragon crown stopped him and said, "Junior brother Liao, come back. You're not his match." The hot-tempered teenager was already at the peak of his anger. How could he listen to the words of the teenager with the golden flood dragon crown? He continued to charge towards Yang Wu with all his might. You're asking for trouble, Yang Wu said disdainfully. After dodging the hot-tempered teenager, he viciously punched the hot-tempered teenager's lower abdomen. Poochie! After the hot-tempered teenager took Yang Wu's punch, he spat out a mouthful of blood and flew backwards like a prawn. Junior brother Liao, a teenager from the royal school, cried out in surprise and rushed out to catch the hot-tempered teenager. He didn't want him to fall even more miserably. However, when the teenager caught the hot-tempered teenager, he felt an unstoppable force and was thrown to the ground together with the hot-tempered teenager. At this moment, the teenagers from the royal school were all shocked. The teenager in front of them was about the same age as them, but his strength was much stronger than theirs. This was hard for them to accept. When these teenagers regained their senses, they had already drawn their weapons and were about to surround Yang Wu. The teenager who was addressed as the fifth prince looked at Yang Wu and asked, "Are you a citizen of the Xia kingdom?" "So what if I am, and so what if I'm not?" Yang Wu had just heard someone address this teenager as the fifth prince, so he should be the fifth prince of the Xia kingdom, Tang Chencheng. Yang Wu was once the son of an earl and a hereditary viscount. However, there was still a huge gap between him and a real member of the royal family. Hence, he had never seen a prince of the royal family. However, he already had a basic understanding of the princes of the royal family. The fifth prince in front of him was actually only the son of a concubine and did not have the qualifications to become the crown prince. However, it was said that the fifth prince had an extraordinary talent in cultivation and had also gained the favor of the current emperor. It would not be difficult for him to be conferred the title of king in the future. Even if Yang Wu's status had not been demoted, he still did not have the qualifications to speak to the fifth prince on an equal footing. Furthermore, he was still a prison slave soldier. However, he did not bow down to the fifth prince. This was not because he had become arrogant, but because he had a strong resentment towards the royal family. The royal family did not distinguish between right and wrong when they conferred the title of Yang family. This made him very unhappy with the royal family. If you are a citizen of the Xia kingdom, you should run down and greet the fifth prince. The gorgeous young girl beside Tang Chenqing said loudly. This young girl was called Lu Yimei. She had reached the level of a high-level warrior and was extremely fond of the fifth prince. She even hoped to become the fifth prince's concubine. The other teenagers were called Gao Xingkai, Lu Mingbin, Liao Jitan and He Xiaoshuang. As for the middle-aged man, he was a eunuch and was known as Li Gonggong. So it is your highness, the fifth prince. I have been disrespectful. Yang Wu cupped his hands and said. He then said, I saved her from this swamp. Since you know her, I will hand her over to you. After he finished speaking, Yang Wu turned to leave. He did not want to be entangled with these people. He also did not have the extravagant hope that the fifth prince would be able to help the Yang family regain their former glory. Who knows, the fifth prince might even hit him when he was down. Therefore, it was better to keep a respectful distance and rely on himself. The fifth prince, Tang Chenqing, showed some dissatisfaction and said, Since junior sister Lin was saved by you, we will talk about it when she wakes up. He paused for a moment and said, Now, let's settle the score of you injuring my junior brother Liao. He wanted to kill me. So what if I taught him a lesson? Yang Wu frowned and said, then as the fifth prince, what if I want to teach a lowly commoner like you a lesson? The fifth prince showed his arrogance and laughed. Is this how the imperial family bullies others? Yang Wu's face darkened as he said, How dare you talk back to the fifth prince? You are courting death. Gao Xingkai shouted from the side. Put away your senseless arrogance. This is the Wolf Smoke Mountain Range, not the outside world. Yang Wu threw out a harsh sentence and turned to leave. Let this prince measure where you got the confidence to dare to look down on the dignity of my imperial family. The fifth prince said coldly, then rushed towards Yang Wu to kill him. At this moment, Lin Qiqi woke up and cried out, Fifth prince, don't go against him. Chapter 132. The fifth prince's talent was outstanding among the younger generation of the Grand Xia dynasty. He was already in the early stage of the general realm and was infinitely close to the middle stage. He had hopes of becoming an outer disciple of Mount Amei. He was confident enough to look down on his peers, so he didn't think much of Yang Wu, even if Yang Wu easily defeated his junior brother. Lin Qiqi didn't think so. She had seen Yang Wu defeat even a demon king with her own eyes. Such a youth could no longer be described as a genius. At the very least, he should be described as a prodigy. If the fifth prince fought against Yang Wu, he would definitely lose. Lin Qiqi thought so, so she spoke up to stop the fifth prince. When the fifth prince saw that Lin Qiqi had woken up, he stopped and looked at her, asking, Junior sister Lin, you're awake. Did this brat do anything to you? Lin Qiqi hurriedly waved her hand and said, No, he saved me. Fifth prince, please don't make things difficult for him. I see. Then let him apologize to junior brother Liao and forget about this matter. The fifth prince said calmly. He didn't know what was right and what was wrong. You can't blame me. Yang Wu replied indifferently. Lu Yimei raised his eyebrows and said, The fifth prince has already given you a lot of face. You still don't know what's good for you? That's right. Kneel down and apologize to our junior brother Liao. Otherwise, don't even think about leaving. Gao Shankai said arrogantly. Kneel down. Apologizing is more important than your life. Lu Mingbin helped Liao Jitan up and looked at Yang Wu playfully. Yang Wu chuckled and said, Do you really think you have me? Lin Qiqi hurriedly said to her companions, Don't make things difficult for him. Let him go. She was really afraid that if they angered Yang Wu, her companions would be in trouble. Junior sister Lin, We know he saved you. But that's that. He still has to apologize for injuring junior brother Liao," the fifth prince said with certainty. He then looked at Yang Wu and said, "Kneel down within 3 breaths. Otherwise I'll break your legs." The fifth prince was born noble. How could he allow anyone to go against his will? He already disliked Yang Wu. If Yang Wu continued to be disobedient, then he had to let Yang Wu know that some orders could not be disobeyed. Yang Wu narrowed his eyes and wanted to say something, but in the end, he didn't say anything. He turned around and left. Unfortunately, there were some troubles that wouldn't come even if he didn't want to provoke them. Instead, they would continue to pester him. "Junior sister Lin, I've already given you face, so don't blame me for being impolite," the fifth prince said with a look of dissatisfaction. Then, he prepared to attack again. Li Gonggong said, "Your Highness, let me do it." "No, my strength has improved a lot this time. I can use him as an example. You guys watch how I teach him a lesson," the fifth prince said as he rubbed his fists. Then, he walked towards Yang Wu. At first, he walked very slowly, but as his steps became faster and faster, his speed also became faster and faster. His aura was rising steadily, and there was no doubt that he was in the general realm. Among these young men and women, only Lin Qiqi had reached the general realm. The others were still at the warrior realm. The fifth prince had the right to be proud. "Fifth prince, don't. You're no match for him." Lin Qiqi couldn't care less. She got up and hurriedly shouted at the fifth prince. However, the fifth prince became even more displeased after hearing this. He shouted in shock, "Then I'd like to see how powerful he is." At this moment, the fifth prince had already approached Yang Wu's back and launched a fierce attack on Yang Wu's back. This was just a simple straight punch, but the fist force was extremely powerful. It contained at least 25 cauldrons of strength, and there seemed to be the aura of a flood dragon floating faintly. This punch was enough to shatter rocks and crack the ground. This punch came very quickly, but Yang Wu's reaction was also very fast. He had already dodged in an instant. Then, he turned around and slapped the fifth prince's face hard. Slap! Yang Wu didn't show any mercy in this slap. It landed solidly on the fifth prince's face. 5 red palms were imprinted on the fifth prince's face, and blood seeped out from the corners of his mouth. Everyone widened their eyes as they watched this scene. In their impression, the fifth prince was someone who could even put up a fight against an intermediate general. How could he have been defeated so easily? Even the fifth prince himself was dumbfounded. "You!" The fifth prince covered his face and glared furiously at Yang Wu. He was about to rebuke and retaliate. Unfortunately, Yang Wu didn't give him the chance to do so. Yang Wu spoke first. "What about you? Don't think that I'm afraid of you just because you're a prince. I'm not even afraid of the barbarian king, and I even beat up the people from the sacred fire sect. What right do you have to put on airs in front of me?" Slap slap. Yang Wu continued to slap the fifth prince's face furiously. In the blink of an eye, the fifth prince was at a loss of what to do. At this moment, Li Gonggong finally reacted and cried out in alarm, "Bastard, don't think of hurting His Highness." As expected of the fifth prince's personal protector, Li Gonggong was already at the peak of the general realm. He ran like the wind and charged toward Yang Wu at an extremely fast speed. His hands formed into claws and clawed at Yang Wu. 2 domineering claw marks tore through the air. Some of the trees on the left and right were affected, and their branches broke off one after another. The sharp force could be called a divine weapon. This kind of power was already the most powerful combat strength below the King realm. However, in Yang Wu's eyes, it was nothing at all. Yang Wu stared sharply at Li Gonggong and shouted, "Old eunuch, you're nothing." He quickly counterattacked. Dragon Turtle Sea Turning Skill. Yang Wu didn't show any mercy at all. The 12 standard meridians, 6 mysterious meridians, and more than 500 acupoints in his body erupted with a powerful force at the same time. The power of his bloodline was also activated. It was as if the shadow of a turtle had appeared behind him. An invisible and invincible momentum was emitted. The power of his fists and palms crazily blasted out. When Li Gonggong saw Yang Wu's counterattack, he was stunned at first. Then, he gritted his teeth and continued to increase his strength. He was determined to defeat Yang Wu. Boom! When the two forces collided, they immediately produced a powerful momentum. The explosive chi sent the fifth prince flying. Some of the trees and sand nearby were shaken into powder. Ah! When some of the forces disappeared, someone let out a scream. Obviously, the winner had been decided. Everyone focused their eyes and discovered that the person who was sent flying was Li Gonggong. This time they were completely dumbfounded. They wondered if this was an illusion. Only Lin Qiqi knew that all of this was real. Li Gonggong wasn't Yang Wu's opponent. She softly muttered, "How will this end?" Li Gonggong's claws were injured by Yang Wu. Blood was already seeping out, and his face was filled with fear. Yang Wu stood in place and said, "Do you still want to teach me a lesson?" This time, everyone was speechless. In this desolate mountain range, it was impossible for them to use their status to suppress Yang Wu. Moreover, Yang Wu had just mentioned a national power, which made them even more afraid of Yang Wu's unknown identity. So, sorry, they didn't mean to make things difficult for you. Can you let it go for my sake? Lin Qiqi hurriedly walked out and apologized. Who are you? Do I know you?" Yang Wu sneered as he looked at Lin Qiqi. After pausing for a moment, he reprimanded the fifth prince. "If you have anything valuable on you, give it to me in exchange for your lives. Otherwise, your corpses will be exposed in the wilderness today." Lin Qiqi's face instantly turned pale. She didn't even know Yang Wu's name. What qualifications did she have to make him give her face? "You even want to rob a prince? Do you really think I'm afraid of you?" Li Gonggong screamed. The aura on his body suddenly changed. A wave of yin qi was attached to his body, causing his strength to rise steadily. His body immediately turned green, and sharp teeth grew out of his mouth. It was as if he had turned into a terrifying zombie. Green Fiend Tribulation Technique. This was a crooked technique that Li Gonggong cultivated. After absorbing corpse chi for a long period of time to increase his battle strength, it allowed him to transform into a zombie to fight. When Li Gonggong released this transformation, everyone felt a frightening chill. Each and every one of them avoided him as if he was the plague, quickly retreating. Yang Wu had also seen many strange techniques, but this was the first time he had seen such a powerful transformation of a martial artist like Li Gonggong. He revealed an excited expression and said, "A deathbed struggle." The fifth prince revealed an incomparably bitter expression and shouted, "Li Gonggong, kill him. You must kill him." He had never suffered such a grievance in his life, especially in front of so many junior brothers and sisters. He really couldn't stand it. He had to let Yang Wu die to appease the resentment in his heart. "Your Highness, don't worry. He's dead for sure," Li Gonggong said coldly. He once again charged towards Yang Wu. A pair of green claws had already appeared on his pair of green arms. The incomparably sharp claws slashed out like several sharp blades attacking at the same time, cutting the air and creating streaks of green light. The power of this attack was more than 2 or 3 times stronger than before. This was definitely the most powerful force that belonged to the peak of the general realm. It was difficult for anyone below the king realm to be a match for it. Yang Wu finally revealed a trace of seriousness. His incomparably sharp eyes were still able to clearly see the trajectory of his opponent's attack. He didn't hesitate to make his move. The mountain collapsing palm repeatedly struck out. The powerful palm wind and the claw energy intertwined. The two completely different types of profound qi continuously collided with each other. Waves of muffled sounds rang out, looking very intense. This time, Yang Wu wasn't able to suppress Li Gonggong. Instead, Li Gonggong's claw energy left several claw marks on his arms. Blood directly seeped out, and wisps of azure evil chi entered his body. This azure evil chi was a variant of corpse poison, enough to corrode a person's body. At this crucial moment, Yang Wu's immortal body played a role. He blocked the azure evil chi, not harming his body at all. It seems that I can't underestimate any opponent, Yang Wu thought to himself. Then, he began to fight seriously with Li Gonggong. Yang Wu used all the combat skills he had mastered. His fists, palms, and legs had all reached the great accomplishment stage, or even the perfect stage. The combat strength he erupted with was enough to be on par with Li Gonggong. However, it wasn't easy to take down his opponent. I can't waste time blindly with him. Yang Wu didn't want to drag things out. He had to give the person in front of him a sufficiently powerful deterrent. The Way of Death. Chapter 133. The Tao of Death was a kind of martial power. It could affect a person's mind. Those with weak willpower would not be able to resist the attack of this kind of power. Li Gonggong was no exception. He cultivated the Green Fiend Calamity skill and his willpower was quite strong. However, in front of the Tao of Death, he still felt fear. Yang Wu seized the opportunity and flew up. He kicked out 9 consecutive kicks and sent Li Gonggong flying while vomiting blood. Yang Wu's kicks were extremely powerful. Li Gonggong's head, heart, dantian, and many other vital points were injured and he fainted. The young men and women present all swallowed their saliva and stared with their eyes wide open. They could not accept this fact. How is this possible? Li Gonggong's Green Fiend Calamity skill is unparalleled in the world. It is hard to find a match for him. How could he be defeated just like that? The 5th prince said to himself in a daze. I already said that we shouldn't have offended him. Lin Qiqi sighed. She knew how strong Yang Wu was. However, Yang Wu was injured before. She found it unbelievable that he could recover to this level in such a short period of time. All right, take out the Xian spirit stones or anything valuable. This is your only chance to buy your lives. Otherwise, I will strip you naked and feed you to the wolves. Yang Wu said fiercely. Originally, he did not want to offend anyone, especially a member of the imperial family like the 5th prince. However, the other party was too despicable and reminded him of how he was harmed. He could not help but want to teach the 5th prince a lesson. It could be considered as venting his anger first. He would deal with future matters in the future. Furthermore, he already had his own path to walk. He did not need to beg others to revive his young family. Only self-improvement was the foundation of reviving his family. Are you really going to do this? We are from the Imperial School and he is the 5th prince. I think we should just forget about this. Lin Qiqi walked over and said. Yang Wu sneered. I don't care who they are. If you don't do as I say, don't even think about leaving. After pausing for a moment, he looked at Lin Qiqi and said, Oh right, you can't skimp on the life-saving money. Lin Qiqi instantly became speechless. At first, she had a good impression of Yang Wu, but now it was all ruined. The others were furious, but they didn't dare to say anything. Even the strongest, Li Gonggong, wasn't his opponent, so what right did they have to fight Yang Wu? Who exactly are you? The 5th prince asked as he looked at Yang Wu. Why do you care who I am? Cut the crap and hand over the life-saving money. After Yang Wu walked closer to the 5th prince, he acted as if he was going to clap his hands again. The 5th prince was so scared that he covered his head and dodged. That look was really embarrassing. You're not allowed to run. I'll start with you, 5th prince. Hand over the life-saving money. Otherwise, I'll strip you naked and feed you to the wolves. Yang Wu pointed at the 5th prince and shouted. The 5th prince's face was full of grievance. He quickly fumbled through his clothes and took out all the valuables he had on him. Saving his little life was more important. The others didn't dare to resist. They didn't need Yang Wu's orders and quickly took out their valuables. The 5th prince had the most wealth out of everyone present. He had more than 10 pieces of low-grade Xian spirit stones on him. Each piece was worth thousands of gold and was an essential item for a martial artist. The others didn't take out much. 2 or 3 pieces of low-grade Xian spirit stones was the limit. There were also a few hundred gold coins, which added up to a small fortune. It wasn't that these people were too poor, but that they were outside and didn't need to bring too much money. The most precious things were their weapons and pills. These were their means of survival. "Can we go now?" the 5th prince asked. "Don't be in such a hurry. Take off that purple belt of yours. It looks pretty good." Yang Wu pointed at the purple belt on the 5th prince's waist. The 5th prince panicked and replied, "How can you be like this?" This purple belt was one of the most precious items he had on him. Most importantly, it represented a different meaning. It was something his imperial father bestowed upon him. What would happen if he lost it? Yang Wu naturally knew this, but he didn't care. He sneered and said, "Why don't you give me your combat weapon? I'll choose one of the two. If you dare say no again, I'll take both." The 5th prince instantly felt very hurt. When had he ever been threatened like this? "Don't you dare insult the 5th prince." Liu Yimei angrily stood in front of the 5th prince and said, "Then, can I humiliate you?" Yang Wu looked at Liu Yimei's half-exposed chest and said with an evil look on his face. Liu Yimei was frightened by Yang Wu's aggressive gaze. She hugged her chest and screamed as she retreated. "Okay, I'll give it to you." The 5th prince had no other choice. He took off the purple belt on his waist. His pants were no longer bound, and he could only use his hands to grab onto it. This made him feel extremely embarrassed. When Yang Wu took the purple belt, a wave of energy was transmitted from the purple belt. This caused the 5th prince's body to tremble slightly. His hands that were grabbing onto his pants unconsciously loosened. His lower body felt a chill. He was only left with a pair of white underwear. His 2 smooth thighs were extremely dazzling. Lin Qiqi, Liu Yimei, and He Xiao Shuang, the 3 girls couldn't help but let out a strange cry. They all turned their faces away and blushed. "You've gone too far." Gao Shankai couldn't stand it anymore. With a roar, he raised his battle weapon and furiously slashed at Yang Wu. However, before he could hit Yang Wu had already kicked his battle weapon away. The tip of his foot was like a sharp blade, pointing directly at Gao Shansai's throat. If he moved forward half an inch, Gao Shansai's throat would explode. Gao Shansai's hair flew up. That powerful force caused his throat to hurt. He could clearly feel the tyrannical power of Yang Wu's kick. Cold sweat instantly appeared on his forehead. "Why didn't you say that you've gone too far just now?" Yang Wu said disdainfully. After retracting his foot, he no longer paid attention to these people. After putting away his spoils of war, he confidently shouted, "What are you waiting for, lowly wretches?" After his voice fell, a tiger's roar rang out. Roar! Immediately after, a tiger demon with only hair on its head and a bald body ran over from a direction. On its head was a little hay dog and an unconscious person. This combination was extremely strange. This combination was naturally the Fire Cloud Tiger and Little Hay. They had been hiding nearby and didn't go far. After Yang Wu finished the battle, he had already noticed their existence. These people in front of Yang Wu no longer had any vision. Looking at this bald Fire Cloud Tiger, they could feel a strong and powerful demon chi. This was definitely not the aura of an ordinary demon general. It should be the kind of aura that had reached a high level, or even a top-level demon general could possess. Now, they didn't have the slightest bit of anger towards Yang Wu. If he had summoned such a general demon, they wouldn't have dared to be so arrogant. Yang Wu directly jumped onto the Fire Cloud Tiger's back and moved the skinny monkey forward a little. Then, he looked back at the young boys and girls and said, "If you want revenge, please remember that this young master's name is Viscount Yang." After saying that, he rode the Fire Cloud Tiger confidently and left the place. Only the young boys and girls were left. At least they were safe now. "Viscount Yang, one day I won't let you go." The fifth prince had never suffered such a great grievance in his life. In his heart, he had already committed Yang Wu's appearance to memory. If he had the chance to meet Yang Wu again, he swore to take revenge. Yang Wu temporarily put this matter to the back of his mind. He wanted to find a quiet place to let little Hay refine pills to completely awaken the skinny monkey. They found an inconspicuous mountain valley. There were a few spirit demons living here, and the fire cloud tiger had forcefully taken over this place. Little Hay set up a formation nearby, concealing this place. Only then did she begin to refine pills for the skinny monkey. Brat, learn from the side. Who knows, maybe you'll be able to refine 1 or 2 pills for fun in the future, Little Hay said to Yang Wu. She didn't wait for Yang Wu to agree before summoning the farmer god Immortal Cauldron. The cauldron appeared once again, and it was as if thousands of spirit demons had appeared. Tens of thousands of spirit medicines floated in the air, and an ancient immortal chi filled the air. The fire cloud tiger was so scared that it knelt down on the spot. It trembled as it said, "An immortal item." This wasn't the first time Yang Wu had seen the farmer god Immortal Cauldron, but every time he saw it, he would feel quite shocked. He thought to himself, "I wonder when I'll be able to have a divine power like Little Hay's." He was glad that he had met Little Hay in the mountain prison. Otherwise, even if he didn't die in the mountain prison, there would be no chance for him to take revenge. Stalks of old medicine flew out of Little Hay's mouth. As soon as these old medicines reached the mouth of the cauldron, they began to emit a scorching heat. They didn't know when, but there was a flame burning above the cauldron. The heat generated caused the old medicines to shrivel up, and strands of medicinal essence dripped down from the cauldron. Yang Wu had been learning from Little Hay for the past few days, so he could distinguish the effects of these old medicines one by one. He muttered to himself, "The black orchid warms the meridians and nourishes the meridians. The red blood vine replenishes the qi and blood. The eye powder improves the eyesight." These various old medicines all had different effects. It was definitely not an easy task to combine them into a pill. As each stalk of old medicine's essence was absorbed into the cauldron, a strange medicinal smell began to fill the air. Not long after, Little Hay spat out a few more stalks of spirit herbs. These spirit herbs were much more precious than the old medicines, and their medicinal properties were even more extraordinary. Little Hay didn't waste these spirit herbs. Instead, it perfectly refined their essences and gathered them together with the other old medicine's essences. Finally, it used the soul contact Vine King as well. The intensity of the flames was reduced significantly, and it used a slow fire to slowly refine the medicinal properties of the soul contact Vine King. This was only the initial process of refining medicine, but it was already enough to give Yang Wu a headache. He didn't understand how Little Hay did it. When all the medicinal essences entered the cauldron, the lid of the cauldron was pressed down, and the flames rapidly increased, causing the walls of the cauldron to turn bright red. The medicinal essences in the cauldron continuously intertwined into a ball. When the heat was sufficient, Little Hay suddenly withdrew the flames and shouted, "Condense the pill!" Bang! Chapter 134. The pill was complete. The cauldron let out a low rumble as a wave of energy rippled around it. A cloud of dust flew into the air, and all of the flames disappeared. Even the scent of medicine was no longer present. Little Hay collapsed to the ground, panting heavily. "I'm so tired." Little Hay had never been in peak condition. It was already very impressive that it could use its own divine sense and true flame to refine a cauldron of pills. Yang Wu's mind kept replaying Little Hay's series of actions. Even now, he still felt like he was in the clouds. He knew far too little about the basics of alchemy. As for the fire cloud tiger, it was even more confused. It looked at Little Hay with reverence. How could a mere demonic general understand and comprehend such a method? After a while, the heat from the cauldron slowly dissipated. Little Hay transmitted its voice to Yang Wu. "Open the cauldron lid and see how many pills there are inside." Yang Wu nodded. Then, he excitedly walked towards the cauldron. He reached out to touch the cauldron lid. Just as he touched it, a terrifying wave of heat was transmitted to his palm. It was so hot that he yelped and hurriedly pulled his hand back. "Why didn't you tell me that the cauldron lid was so hot? I'm already used to it." Yang Wu wanted to cry. "You're blaming me for being stupid?" Little Hay rolled its eyes. Yang Wu was instantly at a loss for words. He thought for a moment, and then a wave of Xian Qi appeared on his palm. It condensed into a claw and grabbed at the cauldron lid. He shouted, "Rise!" Just as Yang Wu thought that he could easily grab the cauldron lid, he discovered that he couldn't do anything to the cauldron lid. This made him feel extremely depressed. Thus, Yang Wu once again increased his strength. In the end, it was still to no avail. This is an immortal cauldron. Even a single cauldron lid is enough to make you suffer. Little Hay gloated. "I don't believe I can't do anything to it." Yang Wu's stubborn temper rose. After he said that, he mobilized all the profound qi in his body. His hands turned into claws and grabbed the lid of the cauldron, wanting to open it. Finally, after he exerted all his strength, a small crack finally appeared on the cauldron lid. He finally understood how terrifying the weight of the cauldron lid was. With his current strength, it was not difficult for him to unleash the strength of 200 cauldrons. However, this cauldron lid actually had such a heavy weight. If he were to carry the entire cauldron, he was afraid that he would really be able to do it. Yang Wu shouted, his power surging out continuously. The medicinal cauldron was finally moved away by him, and a medicinal fragrance instantly filled the surroundings. This medicinal fragrance was very rich. After Yang Wu took a deep breath, he felt that his mind was a lot clearer. It was as if his strength had also increased a little. He sighed and said, "What a rich medicinal fragrance! Quickly take a look and see how many pills are there," Little Hay urged. Yang Wu took a look and revealed a happy expression. "There are a total of 3 pills. There were 3 round pills that were about the size of a thumb inside the cauldron. A milky white medicinal fragrance floated around the pills, giving one the urge to swallow them. Little Hay was not satisfied. It sighed and said, "There are only 3 pills. What a huge loss." Yang Wu put away the pills and said, "Little Hay, you are already very strong. I think that other alchemists would be quite good if they could refine even 1 pill." "You little brat, you are right. This is a soul-returning king pill that has a medicinal fragrance. Even if it is only the lowest grade pill, those alchemists who can refine it are already considered to have reached a higher level," Little Hay immediately said proudly. Yang Wu muttered in his heart, "You really are full of yourself." Yang Wu did not argue with Little Hay on this issue. He asked, "Little Hay, will the skinny monkey wake up after eating these 3 pills?" "1 pill is enough," Little Hay replied. "Really? Then I'll try it right now," Yang Wu said happily. Then, he rushed over to the skinny monkey. "Give him some water first. Otherwise, he won't be able to swallow it," Little Hay reminded him. And Yang Wu responded softly and took out a water bag. This was the water he had stored at the edge of the pool. It was now put to good use. Yang Wu lifted the skinny monkey's head and fed him the pill. Then, he poured the water into his mouth to help him swallow the pill. Under Yang Wu's efforts, the skinny monkey successfully swallowed the pill. However, he did not wake up immediately. Yang Wu then asked Little Hay, "Little Hay, the skinny monkey still hasn't woken up. Is the pill not effective enough?" "CK your grandpa, even immortal pills need some time to digest and absorb," Blackie said with a foul mouth. Yang Wu slapped his forehead and muttered to himself, "I was too anxious." Actually, he was too worried. He really wanted the skinny monkey to wake up immediately, so he was too anxious. Yang Wu put the skinny monkey down and allowed him to absorb the medicinal effects of the pill. Then, he walked over to Little Hay and said, "Little Hay, there are still 2 more pills. What should we do with them?" You can take one when all your acupoints and meridians have been opened and you break through to the king realm. You can deal with the other one as you see fit. Little Hay said nonchalantly. This made Yang Wu even happier. This was a king-grade pill. Its value was very small. If he sold it, even king-grade cultivators would fight to the death to obtain it. He remembered that there had been an auction held in the royal city where a king-grade pill had been auctioned off. At that time, his Yang clan had mobilized the entire clan to try and buy that king-grade pill. However, in the end, they had been unable to compete with anyone else and had not been able to buy it. One could imagine just how precious a king-grade pill was. Yang Wu stored the 2 pills in his universal space. He was determined not to let anyone know that he had king-grade pills. Perhaps they would be of great use in the future. At this time, the unconscious skinny monkey finally showed some reaction. The medicinal effects of the pill seeped into his body, nourishing his life force. A large portion of the pill's power directly rushed into his body, helping his soul to regenerate. Suddenly, the skinny monkey opened his eyes. 2 fiery rays of light pierced through the air like blades. A strange aura burst forth from his body. He let out a roar from his throat. It sounded like the roar of a demonic beast. It was very frightening. Yang Wu was given a fright. He turned around and saw that the skinny monkey was still lying on the ground. However, the fur on his face, arms, and legs was rapidly growing. It was as if he was transforming into a beast. Little Hay, what's wrong with the skinny monkey? Is there a problem with your pill? Yang Wu asked anxiously. Don't panic. It'll be fine in a while, Little Hay said calmly. How could Yang Wu not panic? He ran towards the skinny monkey, wanting to see what was wrong with him. However, the skinny monkey was the first to jump up from the ground. At the same time, he flipped his hand and a broken staff flew towards him. Then, he grabbed it and glared at Yang Wu with red eyes as he smashed the broken staff down angrily. The power of this staff was quite strong. It had already exceeded the skinny monkey's combat strength. It was at least at the level of the general realm. Skinny monkey, wake up. It's me. Yang Wu's body was covered in Xian armor. He met the attack with his palms and blocked the power of the skinny monkey's staff. Bang! Yang Wu's strength was still above the skinny monkey's, but the impact of this staff strike made Yang Wu's arms feel a little numb. Roar! The skinny monkey-like figure didn't stop there. Instead, it was as if he had gone mad as he continued to attack Yang Wu. One strike after another, his momentum was heavy and he was extremely powerful. Yang Wu struck out again and again. The Xian Qi in each of his palms was thick and dense, blocking the skinny monkey's attacks. However, as the skinny monkey's attacks became more and more ferocious, he felt that he could not hold on any longer. The skinny monkey seemed to be in the vicinity of a demon. There was no limit to his combat strength. Kid, you have to fight back and wake him up. Otherwise, he will be completely lost. Little Hay reminded Yang Wu. Yang Wu hesitated for a moment. Finally, he stopped defending and began to fight back. Skinny monkey, wake up. Whirling wave palm. Yang Wu did not show any mercy. This palm strike, which contained a whirling force, broke through the skinny monkey's staff power and fiercely struck toward the skinny monkey's chest. Just as Yang Wu was about to send the skinny monkey flying, he realized that the skinny monkey's reaction was extremely fast. It was as if the skinny monkey had already predicted his attack. Not only did the skinny monkey dodge in advance, but the skinny monkey's broken staff was also aimed at Yang Wu's arms. Yang Wu could not dodge in time and was hit by the broken staff. The pain caused him to suck in a breath of cold air. He exclaimed in his heart, "How did the skinny monkey become so powerful?" He did not have time to think. He stepped forward with Wind God's legs and continued to increase the strength of his palms. Wave after wave of whirling waves rushed forward. He used brute force to suppress the skinny monkey. The skinny monkey's combat strength was limited. In the end, Yang Wu gained the upper hand. His shoulder was hit and his body leaned backward. Yang Wu took advantage of the situation and sent the skinny monkey flying with a kick. The skinny monkey was heavily smashed into a tree trunk in the distance. Even the tree trunk was broken by the impact. Skinny monkey, wake up! Yang Wu chased after the skinny monkey and shouted in shock. Fight! The skinny monkey was fighting like a madman. His eyes suddenly burst out with the power of light and directly charged toward Yang Wu. Yang Wu did not expect the skinny monkey's eyes to be able to shoot out the power of light. He could not dodge in time and was hit by the two sharp light beams. Bang! Yang Wu's black armor could not block the attack of the light beams at all. The black armor was shot directly, and the two forces penetrated his body. He screamed in pain. How domineering were these two eye attacks! They could definitely be called eye techniques. Yang Wu fell to the ground with a look of disbelief. He did not expect the skinny monkey, who had just woken up, to be so powerful. Moreover, he had such a strange move. He firmly believed that this was not the skinny monkey. I don't care who you are. Get out of my brother's body. Yang Wu mobilized all his strength to heal his injuries. After a furious roar, he jumped up from the ground. He had already pulled out the double-edged triple dragon spear and was ready to attack with all his strength. He wanted to suppress the skinny monkey first. Yang Wu ignored his injuries and rushed forward. He pushed his strength to the limit. The double-edged triple dragon spear's xianqi was astonishing. Just as he was about to attack, the skinny monkey suddenly fell to the ground and did not move. It was as if he had fainted again. This change was unexpected to Yang Wu. All right, kid. The demon blood in his body has just recovered. He needs to vent it. There is no problem now. He will be normal when he wakes up. You should heal your injuries first. The power of the fiery eyes of truth is not so simple, Little Hay said. Chapter 135. Little Hay, what did you do to Skinny Monkey? What kind of elixir did you refine? Yang Wu ignored his injuries and glared at Little Hay angrily. He felt that Little Hay had something to do with Skinny Monkey's current appearance. Little Hay might even have done it on purpose. Boy, what kind of attitude is that? Do you think that this celestial emperor will do anything to him? Little Hay stared at Yang Wu and asked. Then how did he become like this? Yang Wu angrily said. He felt a burst of pain coming from his chest, which was shot by the skinny monkey, making him feel extremely uncomfortable. Heal your injuries first before you talk to this celestial emperor. Little Hay disdained to argue with Yang Wu and lay down to recover. Yang Wu glanced at Skinny Monkey, who was not moving, and calmed down. He sat down cross-legged and mobilized all the strength in his body to gather at the wound on his chest. He felt a strong burning sensation, which was constantly burning his body. The pain went straight to his bones. If he had not undergone 2 extreme body tempering sessions, he would not have been able to withstand this pain. This eye technique is a little strange. Its destructive power is quite astonishing. If it was someone else, they would not have been able to withstand it. Yang Wu thought to himself. He belonged to the immortal body and could constantly recover from his injuries. Others did not have such an ability. Right now, his undying physique was once again displaying an astonishing effect. Under the pure power erupting from his dantian, the strange eye technique was constantly being pushed aside, unable to further harm his body. However, it was not so easy for Yang Wu to completely expel this power from his body. He had to concentrate his mind to restrain it bit by bit. If he was careless, it would continue to spread. It was very stubborn. After some twists and turns, Yang Wu finally forced the eye technique out of his body and completely recovered from his injuries. It was also at this time that the skinny monkey woke up again. His eyes were no longer scarlet like blood. Instead, there was a trace of confusion in them at first, but then they gradually regained their clarity. Where is this? After Yang Wu heard Skinny Monkey's voice, he immediately rushed over and whispered, Skinny Monkey, are you all right? When Skinny Monkey saw Yang Wu, he sat up and asked, "Big brother, where are we?" Obviously, the skinny monkey-like man still hadn't figured out what had happened to him. "You don't remember what happened just now?" Yang Wu asked with a puzzled look. Now, the skinny monkey's body had returned to the appearance of a normal person. The long hair that had grown out before had disappeared. This made Yang Wu very puzzled. Skinny Monkey thought for a moment and then said, "I only remember that I was captured by the barbarians. I can't remember what happened after that. It was you who saved me, right? It seems that you don't remember what happened before. Let me briefly explain it to you." Yang Wu looked at Skinny Monkey and briefly described what had happened during this period of time. After Skinny Monkey heard it, he felt that it was inconceivable that he had been captured by the barbarian king and then returned alive. He looked up to the sky and laughed wildly. "Haha, big brother, this time I will definitely be blessed if I don't die. Thank you so much." "There's no need for thanks between us brothers." Yang Wu waved his hand indifferently. After a pause he asked, "Do you feel any discomfort in your body?" Skinny Monkey sensed for a moment and said, "It seems that other than feeling a little weak, there's no other problem. No, the sensitivity of my head seems to have become stronger." "Well, as long as there's no discomfort, it's fine. We're going to leave here and return to the Legion. If we don't return, I'm afraid that we will be removed from the list." Yang Wu replied. As for what had happened to Skinny Monkey, he didn't mention it to him. He wanted to clarify the situation with Little Hay first. He was afraid that Skinny Monkey wouldn't be able to accept the truth. Yang Wu called the Fire Cloud Tiger over. Skinny Monkey immediately exclaimed, "Big brother, this is your mount? Why is it so ugly?" This time, the Fire Cloud Tiger roared in dissatisfaction. The Skinny Monkey was startled by the Fire Cloud Tiger's imposing manner, but Yang Wu mercilessly kicked the Fire Cloud Tiger from the side, causing it to roll away. Then, he said to the Skinny Monkey, "It's called cheap bones. It's a bit ugly, but it's a genuine demon general. I'll give it to you as a means of transportation." "I can't accept this. Big brother, you can ride it. I'll walk." Skinny Monkey carried the broken staff on his shoulder and said confidently, "Don't talk nonsense. Your body hasn't fully recovered yet. Sit on it and leave first," Yang Wu said, and then pushed Skinny Monkey towards the Fire Cloud Tiger that had just gotten up. The Fire Cloud Tiger was like a little wife that had been wronged greatly, and obediently lay on its stomach for Skinny Monkey to sit on. "Big brother, you'll be my big brother for the rest of my life." Skinny Monkey looked at Yang Wu emotionally. "Don't give me that. Let's go," Yang Wu said with a wave of his hand indifferently, and then urged the Fire Cloud Tiger on its way. Little Hay quickly rushed over and landed on Yang Wu's shoulder. She took the initiative to talk about Skinny Monkey's situation. "That brat's body contains the bloodline of the ancient fighting spirit monkey tribe. Originally, the bloodline wasn't very thick, but with the appearance of the fiery eyes of truth, his bloodline should be fully recovered. In the future, he will become an extremely powerful war god." "He's that powerful?" Yang Wu exclaimed in surprise. "Of course. This kind of tribe is extremely rare. I didn't think that it would appear in a human. It's a pity that he can't control it now, which is why he's in a berserk state. When he can slowly control it in the future, he'll be able to roam the world proudly and rarely meet a match." Little Hay said, "That's good. I thought something happened to Skinny Monkey." Yang Wu heaved a sigh of relief. He was very afraid that Skinny Monkey had been possessed by something unclean. Now that he heard Little Hay's explanation, he was relieved. "Aren't you jealous?" "Why should I be jealous? He's the future war god. Isn't that even better? When that time comes, who would dare to bully me?" "Is that all you've got? Have you never thought of becoming stronger than him?" "Of course I want to. But Skinny Monkey is so powerful. I don't think I have any hope of competing with him." "I must be blind to have known you." Little Hay and Yang Wu were communicating through divine sense. Skinny Monkey naturally couldn't hear what they were saying. If he did, he would probably think that they were joking. The Wolf Smoke mountain range stretched for thousands of miles. There were countless forests and forests. It was very easy to get lost here. Fortunately, Yang Wu and the others had Little Hay with them. Her ability to recognize directions was unparalleled. It wasn't difficult for them to find the way back to where the barbarian army was stationed. However, she wasn't in a hurry. From time to time, she would search for old herbs and spirit herbs in the mountain range. Yang Wu and Skinny Monkey naturally followed her. Along the way, they encountered many attacks from wild beasts and spirit demons. Skinny Monkey dealt with the weaker wild beasts. Skinny Monkey had almost recovered. In the process of fighting with wild beasts, he had entered the realm of a high-grade warrior. It could be said that he was advancing at lightning speed. Not only was it due to the awakening of the blood in his body, but it also had a lot to do with the King of Elixirs. As for the powerful spirit demons, Yang Wu personally dealt with them. Both of them had the opportunity to train themselves. They also learned from Little Hay how to differentiate medicinal herbs. Their group walked and stopped. After about 5 days, they finally approached the vicinity of the battlefield. There were great Xia soldiers and barbarian soldiers. Big brother, I want to get rid of my identity as a prison slave. I have to kill barbarians to earn merit. Skinny Monkey sensed the sounds of battle in the distance and was eager to give it a try. At present, he had entered the realm of a high-grade warrior 3 days ago. Because he had vaguely touched the realm of a top-grade warrior, his body was constantly filled with a strong fighting spirit. He couldn't wait to kill the barbarians. If you want to kill them, go ahead. Remember to act according to your capabilities. Yang Wu didn't stop him. He supported Skinny Monkey to participate in more life and death battles. This was the fastest way for Skinny Monkey to grow. This was what Little Hay thought. Big brother, don't worry. I know what I'm doing. Skinny Monkey responded excitedly. Then, he rushed in the direction of the battle. Skinny Monkey's movements were quite agile. In a few blinks of an eye, he had already disappeared in front of Yang Wu. Yang Wu didn't follow him. He had already sensed the situation of the battle not far away. There weren't many barbarian soldiers and great Xia soldiers. There were only dozens of them. It wasn't a large-scale battle. Moreover, the most powerful soldiers were in the general realm. He believed that even if Skinny Monkey couldn't defeat them, he could still protect himself. Ever since Skinny Monkey transformed into a demon, his physique had become very terrifying. Yang Wu also had the intention of making Skinny Monkey stronger as soon as possible so that he could control the power of the bloodline in his body. Yang Wu rode the Fire Cloud Tiger at a leisurely pace. His eyes were observing his surroundings and his ears were listening in all directions. He clearly understood the situation in the vicinity to see if there were any more ambushes between the two sides. He didn't discover any other arrangements between the two sides. Instead, he sensed that the great Xia soldiers were at a disadvantage and that the barbarians were valiant. After a while, Yang Wu arrived at the battlefield and saw the two groups of people fighting. The barbarians were riding barbarian bulls and carrying combat weapons. On the other hand, the great Xia soldiers were riding wind leopards and fighting. After Skinny Monkey joined the battle, there were some changes in the battle situation. Skinny Monkey wielded a broken cudgel and was able to exert combat strength that wasn't inferior to that of a general realm expert. Furthermore, he became stronger when facing a strong opponent and stabilized the morale of the great Xia soldiers. Unfortunately, he didn't have enough decisive power. After a barbarian general charged over, his combat strength was tied down and he was unable to support the other great Xia soldiers. Kill all the great Xia soldiers here. Leave no one alive. The most powerful high-level barbarian general among the barbarians ordered. This high-level barbarian general was the leader of this barbarian army. His name was Shi Chang, and he looked somewhat similar to Shi Shafeng. The two of them were definitely related by blood. Shi Chang was about 27 or 28 years old. His charging ability was very strong. Wherever the three-pronged spear in his hand went, the great Xia soldiers would be assassinated on the spot. He was really ferocious and valiant. At this moment, a young leader of Great Xia went up to fight with him. This young leader's combat strength wasn't bad. He was holding a cracked sword in his hand. Every time he swung his sword, there would be tearing marks. Even Shi Chang's defensive mystic armor was cracked. "The barbarians deserve to die," the young leader shouted confidently. Unfortunately, there was still a big gap between his strength and Shi Chang's. When Shi Chang exerted his brute strength, the winged leopard he was riding couldn't withstand it and was shaken to the ground. The young leader lost his balance and Shi Chang took the opportunity to stab him in the face with his three-pronged spear. "Die, monkey of Great Xia!" The young leader didn't have time to defend himself. Just as he was about to be stabbed to death, an arrow shot over rapidly and deflected the three-pronged spear. At the same time, a voice rang out, "Don't you dare hurt a general of Great Xia." Chapter 136. The person who saved the young leader was none other than Yang Wu. Yang Wu held the horn bow in his hand and accurately deflected Shi Chang's trident, saving the young leader's life. "There's actually a monkey from Great Xia who wants to die. Kill them all." Shi Chang was very self-reliant. When he saw Yang Wu rushing over on the bald fire-cloud tiger, he didn't pay much attention to him. How strong could a 17 or 18-year-old youth be? "Everyone, retreat." After the young leader of Great Xia escaped from death, he gave the order to retreat. He couldn't let his brothers die here. This young leader was the deputy commander of the scout battalion, Yan Mingzheng. At the same time, he was also a candidate for major general and had the opportunity to compete for the position of future marshal. The Great Xia soldiers in front of them were from the scout battalion. They spied on the movements of the barbarian army all year round and provided the fastest feedback to the army. They were an indispensable unit in the military camp. This time, Yan Mingzheng and his men were in trouble because Shi Chang and his men had set up a trap for them to fall into. They wanted to eliminate the scout battalion. The scout battalion was good at hiding, spying, and running. Their true combat strength was much weaker than the War Dragon and War Tiger battalions. Unfortunately, it wasn't easy for them to retreat now. The barbarian army outnumbered them and had already formed an encirclement. They had to break out of the encirclement. "None of you can escape," Shi Chang said confidently. He continued to chase after Yan Mingzheng on his bull, not giving him any chance to catch his breath. At the same time, he was also paying attention to Yang Wu's sneak attack. Yang Wu didn't shoot again. He rode on his fire-cloud tiger and advanced step by step. Most of his attention was still on the skinny monkey. He was only concerned about the skinny monkey. He didn't care about the life and death of the others. When Yan Mingzheng saw that Yang Wu had penetrated deep into the encirclement, he didn't forget to remind his savior, "Little brother, quickly retreat. The barbarian army is powerful." "It's okay. This barbarian army is nothing," Yang Wu replied with a smile. "Is that so? Then eat my spear." Shi Chang forced Yan Mingzheng to retreat in the direction of Yang Wu. When he was only 10 feet away from Yang Wu, Shi Chang's attack finally changed direction and directly stabbed towards Yang Wu. The might of this spear strike was like an earth dragon that charged forward, and it swept up the ground to the point sand and rocks flew into the air while trees and trees collapsed, and its might was extremely shocking. Shi Chang made it clear that he wanted to finish off Yang Wu in one move, not giving him the slightest chance to breathe. This was also the punishment for Yang Wu stopping him from killing Yan Mingzheng. "Little brother, dodge." Yan Mingzheng also didn't expect Shi Chang to suddenly give up on attacking him. He cried out in alarm and slashed at Shi Chang with his broken-tooth sword. He wanted to force Shi Chang to withdraw his attack on Yang Wu. Unfortunately, Shi Chang didn't care about Yan Mingjing's sword at all. The Xian armor covering his body was incomparably thick, and he wasn't afraid of Yan Mingjing's slash. Yang Wu faced Shi Chang's spear strike without the slightest fear. The strength of an ordinary general realm expert was no threat to him at all. "Bastard, take him down for me." Yang Wu patted the Fire Cloud Tiger's body and said faintly. The Fire Cloud Tiger was a top-level demon general, and it was enough to deal with Shi Chang. Roar! The Fire Cloud Tiger spat out flames and directly shattered Shi Chang's spear light. Shi Chang's power couldn't cause any harm to Yang Wu at all. The demon pressure released by the Fire Cloud Tiger also shocked Shi Chang. His expression changed slightly as he exclaimed, "It's a top-level demon tiger. Get over here and die." During this period of time, the Fire Cloud Tiger had been tamed by Yang Wu to the point that it didn't have a temper. Now that it finally had a chance to vent, it naturally wouldn't miss it. Yang Wu and Little Hay jumped down from the Fire Cloud Tiger, giving it a chance to show off. "This little cat has been stifled by you." Little Hay sighed softly at Yang Wu. Yang Wu spread his hands and said with a smile, "Isn't that good? Let it be stifled for a while, and it will become more ferocious. This little cat's bloodline is too mixed. It's already the limit for it to break through to the Demon King level. It's not your best mount." Little Hay said, "Why don't you enlarge your body and become my mount?" Yang Wu glanced at Little Hay on his shoulder and said, "Woof, woof, you have to understand that you are now this immortal emperor's human pet. Don't talk nonsense. Otherwise, I will take care of you in a matter of minutes." Little Hay bared its teeth in dissatisfaction. "Hee, Little Hay, who are we?" Yang Wu laughed shamelessly. At this time, the Fire Cloud Tiger was already fighting with Shi Chang, and Yan Mingjing was able to escape. After Yan Mingjing breathed a sigh of relief, he ignored the injuries on his body and turned to Yang Wu. He cupped his hands and said, "I am Yan Mingjing, the Deputy Commander of the Barbarian Suppression Army. Thank you for saving my life." Yang Wu returned the salute and said, "Yang Wu of the Death Army greets Commander Yan." "You are from the Death Army?" Yan Mingjing asked with a surprised expression. Yang Wu nodded and said, "Yes. They are all on the same side. Let's retreat first to avoid being wiped out by the barbarian army in one fell swoop." Yan Mingjing said, "Commander Yan, there are only a few barbarian army here. If we work together and kill them all, wouldn't it be a meritorious service?" Yang Wu said, "There are now more than 60 barbarian army people, and we are left with less than 30. There's strength." Yan Mingjing analyzed, but before he could finish his words, he heard Yang Wu say, "These people are not enough to warm up." After saying that, Yang Wu was no longer idle and directly rushed towards the barbarian army. "Great Xia Dog again, kill him!" After a barbarian noticed Yang Kai rushing over, he raised his mace and smashed it at Yang Wu. This barbarian was a top-level barbarian soldier, and his strength was comparable to a general realm cultivator. His mace flashed brilliantly, and its destructive power was astonishing. Yang Wu acted as if he didn't see the power of this mace and casually threw out a punch. This was a straight punch that contained the power of the inch punch. In an instant, it arrived under the barbarian soldier's mount and instantly exploded with astonishing power. Bang! A shocking explosion sounded and the barbarian bull was blasted into a bloody mess. Even the barbarian soldier fell heavily to the ground. Without waiting for the barbarian soldier to come back to his senses, Yang Wu lashed out with his leg again. A force that was like a long whip swept over, leaving a long mark on the ground. Sand and stones splashed everywhere. The barbarian soldier's body was kicked hard, and he was sent flying more than 10 feet away. He crashed into a rock and the rock caved in. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. Yang Wu had killed a barbarian soldier with just a wave of his hand. Yan Mingjing felt that it was unreal. Such a young man had such powerful strength and killing means. Even in the Death Legion, He was not a nobody. Why had he never heard of him? It seems that I have been away for a long time and don't know what has happened in the army recently. Yan Mingjing thought to himself. At the same time, he was thinking that when he returned, he would definitely pull Yang Wu into their reconnoiter battalion. He would be a great help. Unfortunately, if he knew that Yang Wu had already rejected the invitations of several battalions, he would probably not have such thoughts anymore. At this moment, Yang Wu was like a wolf that had entered a flock of sheep. He charged towards the barbarian army. As a martial artist, he was able to unleash a powerful combat prowess. One barbarian cavalry after another was killed by him. At first, the reconnoiter battalion thought that Shou Ho's support was enough to let them breathe a sigh of relief. However, Yang Wu's appearance directly calmed their morale and made the barbarian soldiers tremble in fear. This person is too strong. We can't fight him head-on, a barbarian soldier exclaimed. It's too late to realize that now. After Yang Wu sneered, he rushed towards the barbarian soldier like a lion pouncing on its prey. His speed was as fast as a ghost. When he was only 8 feet away from the barbarian soldier, he had already made his move. Mountain collapsing palm. This was only a warrior-level palm technique. However, when it was executed perfectly, it could display the power of a general-level technique. The palm energy swept across the sky, causing the air to explode continuously. A lot of dust was sent flying. The palm energy that was powerful enough to collapse a mountain was already in front of the barbarian soldier. The barbarian soldier had already condensed his barbarian armor and held a shield in his hand. He wanted to block Yang Wu's palm attack. However, he was too naive. Bang! After a shocking explosion, the shield in the barbarian soldier's hand exploded. His barbarian armor also disintegrated in an instant. One of his arms was completely broken. His body and his mount were sent flying. Yang Wu's ferocity had really frightened the barbarian soldiers. However, the barbarian soldiers were not afraid of death. More than 10 of them charged towards Yang Wu. They were determined to take down Yang Wu first. Big Brother is so powerful! Skinny Monkey praised in amazement. Holding his broken staff, he became even more ferocious. The shadow of an ape appeared behind him, displaying a strong and powerful combat strength. Now, Skinny Monkey only had one thought, and that was to kill his way out. He didn't want to be under the protection of his big brother for the rest of his life. He hoped that one day he would be able to shelter his big brother from the wind and rain. Yan Mingjing looked at such a ferocious youth and was influenced by him. He shouted, "Everyone, let's kill these barbarian soldiers." Yan Mingjing was originally the leader of the scouts. He was very powerful. After he wasn't suppressed by Shi Chang, his killing power was also quite astonishing. Just like that, a one-sided situation appeared on the battlefield. The barbarian soldiers completely collapsed while the great Xia army quickly gained the upper hand. Victory was in sight again. As for Shi Chang, who was fighting against the Fire Cloud Tiger, he was extremely depressed. He was 1 level lower than the Fire Cloud Tiger, but he was able to withstand its attacks. This was already quite impressive. However, it was impossible for him to kill the Fire Cloud Tiger. Furthermore, there was a possibility that he would be bitten to death by the Fire Cloud Tiger at any time. He knew that his side's momentum was gone. Retreat, everyone retreat. We will get our revenge in the future. Shi Chang shouted at the remaining 20 barbarian soldiers, while he himself quickly retreated. Don't even think about escaping. You are my food. The Fire Cloud Tiger was furious because it couldn't defeat Shi Chang after a long battle. It pounced on Shi Chang and wanted to eat him. Shi Chang reacted very quickly. He jumped down from his mount and let the Fire Cloud Tiger pounce on his mount. Then, he quickly escaped. The Fire Cloud Tiger wasn't able to chase after Shi Chang because Shi Chang's mount resisted and didn't want to become its food. Just when Shi Chang thought that he would be able to escape, a figure appeared in front of him and pulled out a saber. He only saw the gleam of the saber and didn't even have time to scream before his body was split into two. You can't even withstand a single blow. Chapter 137. Shi Chang was dead. Yang Wu only used the power of one slash, but he was already so powerful that he was invincible under the general realm. At the same time, he also produced a faint invincible aura, which merged with his kingly aura and strengthened his spiritual power. The scouts all noticed this scene and sucked in a breath of cold air in their hearts. This young man was too ridiculously strong. Shi Chang was a high-level barbarian general, and his combat strength was not to be underestimated. He could even fight against a top-notch general realm expert. However, this young man in front of them killed him with just a lift of his hand. What realm had this young man reached? They didn't dare to think about it, as it would be too big of a blow to their hearts. However, they were all grateful for this young man's appearance. If it wasn't for him, they would have been doomed. With the death of Shi Chang, the other barbarian soldiers were defeated and were quickly killed by the great Xia army. Shouho was quickly harvesting the heads here and laughed. Haha, I collected dozens of barbarian heads in one go. Now I can get rid of my identity as a prison slave. After hearing Shouho's words, everyone had a strange expression on their faces. Yan Mingjing looked at Shouho and asked, "Brother, how should I address you? Are you also a criminal?" Shouho raised his head and looked at Yan Mingjing. "That's right. Both of us have sinned and joined the Death Legion. Sir, are you planning to steal our credit? How dare a member of the Death Legion talk to our commander like that?" A valiant general covered in blood stood up and reprimanded. Yan Mingjing quickly waved his hand and said, "It's okay. They are our saviors and also our comrades. It's not a big deal to be a criminal. The two of you will definitely be able to wash off your identity." "Sir, you are right." Shouho looked at the valiant general provocatively and nodded at Yan Mingjing. "Don't think that you can be complacent just because you helped us. The valiant general wanted to continue speaking, but before he could finish, Yan Mingjing interrupted him and said, "Qiande, shut up." The valiant general called Qiande respected Yan Mingjing and immediately stopped talking. Yan Mingjing looked at Yang Wu and Skinny Monkey and said, "I am Scout Yan Mingjing. How should I address you two little brothers?" Yan Mingjing introduced himself once again. Obviously, he valued Yang Wu and the Skinny Monkey very much. He was also grateful to them from the bottom of his heart. He didn't display the prestige of a commander. Yan Mingjing was only 26 years old. He was only a few years older than Skinny Monkey and Yang Wu. Although he had the ability to become a major general, it was not easy to fight for the position of young marshal. However, Yang Wu in front of him had this possibility. Even if he was a prison slave soldier, as long as he had enough strength, he would be able to fight for military merits in the army and have enough right to speak. Because of this, Yan Mingjing was very optimistic about Yang Wu. He also wanted to make friends with Yang Wu, which would be beneficial to his future. "My name is Yang Wu, and he is Sun Do. We both joined the Death Legion not long ago." Yang Wu replied. They had joined the Death Legion for less than a month, but they had experienced many things. They had to return to the army as soon as possible. Otherwise, if they were convicted of running away, they would never be able to wash off their identity as prison slaves. Good names. I don't know if you are interested in joining my scout battalion. I can find a way to get rid of your identity as prison slave soldiers. Yan Mingjing said seriously. "We appreciate Sir's kindness. We are fine staying in the Death Legion." Yang Wu replied politely. Now that he had obtained enough merits, he could get rid of his identity after returning to the army. There was no need to ask Yan Mingjing for a favor. "Don't be ungrateful," Qiande said with dissatisfaction. Skinny Monkey smiled and said, Some time ago, the Battle Dragon Battalion, Battle Tiger Battalion, and other large battalions wanted to recruit my big brother. Even General Sima wanted my big brother to join the infantry battalion. However, my big brother didn't care, so I advise you not to waste your efforts. This is impossible, Qianda said with a hoarse voice. Qianda, get back immediately, Yan Mingjing scolded with dissatisfaction. Then, he cupped his hands towards Yang Wu and Skinny Monkey and said, Brothers, please don't be offended. Qianda is just straightforward. He doesn't mean any harm. Yang Wu ignored Qianda and said to Yan Mingjing, We won't lower ourselves to his level. However, all the heads on the ground belong to us brothers. This way we will be even. How about it? Of course. If it weren't for you two brothers, we would all be dead. Yan Mingjing said. That's great. We can redeem ourselves soon, Skinny Monkey said excitedly. So, he collected all the heads together, including the barbarians that were killed by Yan Mingjing and the others. There were almost 100 heads. He only needed a dozen more to get rid of his identity as a prison slave. Skinny Monkey naturally couldn't bring so many human heads with him. So, he gathered some of the bulls that weren't slaughtered and let them transport the heads for him. These bulls were all tamed by the barbarians. Their wild nature wasn't strong. With the help of the Firecloud Tiger, they had no choice but to obey. As for Yan Mingjing and the others, they collected the corpses of their fallen brothers and took their belongings back. At the same time, they burned the corpses on the spot. This was the funeral for those who died on the battlefield. Yan Mingjing led a group of people and solemnly saluted the dead. Yang Wu and Skinny Monkey were also affected and saluted silently. These people were all warriors. They were fighting for the people of Great Xia. They were fighting for the territory of Great Xia. Now that they died on the battlefield, they were men worthy of respect. Okay, let's go back. The barbarians have been attacking fiercely recently. I suspect that they are preparing to launch a fierce attack. We have to bring back the information, Yan Mingjing said to the people behind him. After a pause, he looked at Yang Wu and Skinny Monkey and said, Are the two of you going back with us? Yang Wu hesitated for a moment, then nodded and said, It is our honor to be able to go with Sir. Okay, when we go back, I will repay the two of you for saving our lives. At the same time, I will report your contributions to the general. Then, you will be able to wash away your crimes, Yan Mingjing said seriously. Yang Wu thanked him calmly. Skinny Monkey was looking forward to it. At that time, he was also wrongly imprisoned. To be able to wash away his crimes was naturally what he wished for. In this way, Yang Wu and Skinny Monkey followed Yan Mingjing and the others back to the barbarian army. On the way, Yan Mingjing naturally showed enthusiasm towards Yang Wu. He directly called Yang Wu and Skinny Monkey brothers. He said that in the future, if they encountered any trouble in the army, they could come to the scout camp to find him. He would be able to solve 1 or 2 problems for them. Yang Wu felt Yan Mingjing's good intentions. Moreover, he didn't have any bad feelings towards Yan Mingjing. He gradually accepted Yan Mingjing's good intentions. After all, one more friend meant one more path. This was always a good thing. By the way, Brother Yang and the others, what do you plan to do now that I have gotten rid of my identity as a prison slave soldier? Yan Mingjing threw a bag of wine to Yang Wu and asked. Yang Wu took the bag of wine, raised his head and drank a mouthful. He smiled and said, Maybe I will stay in the army and make more contributions. In fact, he wanted to stay in the army and wait for the day when he became a king before returning to King City. Brother Yang's idea is good. A man should serve his country, make a name for himself on the battlefield, and make a name for himself, Yan Mingjing said with a yearning look. It could be seen that Yan Mingjing was a person who cared a lot about his country. He liked the feeling of making a name for himself on the battlefield. Yang Wu smiled noncommittally and didn't respond. He didn't have a good impression of the imperial family of the Great Xia dynasty. He didn't want to think too much about such a big thing like making a name for himself. He only wanted to become a king and take back everything that belonged to the Yang family. Father, mother, brother, are you all well? Yang Wu sighed heavily in his heart. Thinking about it, he had already been separated from his family for 2 or 3 months. He didn't know if they were doing well or not. He was even more anxious to see them again. In a small county town in the southernmost part of the Great Xia, a young man who looked somewhat similar to Yang Wu was teaching some children in a simple and crude house. This young man's bearing was extraordinary. Even though he wore linen clothes and straw sandals, his natural and refined aura couldn't be concealed at all. He held the book in his hand while lightly shaking his head, and it was as if he was spitting out a long river from his mouth. The long and continuous meaning caused those children to be intoxicated by his word. The sage said, "When 3 people walk together, there is bound to be a teacher. Choose those who are good and follow, and those who are not good, change." After an hour, the young man stopped teaching. Many children surrounded the young man and chattered non-stop. They didn't have the slightest reverence for this young teacher, only a strong sense of intimacy. The young man gently stroked the children beside him and patiently explained the essence of the lesson to them. After the children understood, they skipped away. The young man tidied up the book in his hand, then carried the book bag and walked out of the church. At this moment, outside the church, there was a beautiful young lady who was wearing gorgeous clothes. She blinked her big eyes and looked at the young man without blinking. She called out, "Young one, can you come to my house for a meal?" In such a remote county, a young lady dared to boldly invite a young man to her house for a meal. This was definitely a sensational matter. This also showed the lady's fondness for the young man. The young man named Yang Wen smiled amiably and replied, "Thank you, Miss Murong. I still have to go to the court to tidy up the documents." If Yang Wen wasn't Yang Wu's brother, who else could it be? As early as 3 months ago, he was the top scholar in the liberal arts and was the literary star of the Great Xia dynasty. He was said to be a talented young man who could become one of the 3 dukes in the future. Unfortunately, because of his brother Yang Wu's involvement, he voluntarily resigned from the Gongming dynasty in exchange for his brother's life. Therefore, he was sent to this barren land to live. Without an imperial edict, he would never be able to take half a step closer to the royal city. "Yang Wen, even if you don't go to the court for a day, my father won't blame you." The young lady named Murong looked at Yang Wen affectionately and said. Yang Wen politely replied, "I don't dare to overlook the public for personal reasons." Then, he avoided Murong and walked in a direction, ignoring Murong who was stomping her feet. Yang Wen walked while looking up at the sky and muttered, "Brother, you have to live well. Brother Rong, I will read the sage's way. Naturally, I will be able to resolve our family's crisis. The North and the South are far apart, but the brotherhood is strong." Chapter 138. Yang Wu and Shou Ho followed Yan Mingjing and the others back to the barbarian suppression army. Yan Mingjing had been banished to the army at the age of 16 and had been there for 10 years. He could be considered a veteran and knew the terrain of this area like the back of his hand. It was easy for him to bring Yang Wu and Shou Ho back to the barrack. When they returned, a troop came up to greet them. This was the defensive infantry. They saw Shou Ho driving a bull with a barbarian's head hanging on it. The leader cupped his hands and smiled at Yan Mingjing. "Congratulations to Commander Yan for making another military contribution." "Captain Gua, you must be joking. These military contributions weren't made by me. They were made by 2 brothers from the Death Legion." Yan Mingjing didn't claim credit and answered honestly. He paused for a moment and said, "Please let me through, Captain Gua. I have something urgent to report to the general." "Okay, let me check." The man called Captain Gua responded and ordered the others to quickly inspect Yan Mingjing's group to see if there were any barbarian spies. After confirming that there were no spies, they were allowed to pass through. When Yang Wu and Shou Ho passed through, the man called Captain Gua looked at Yang Wu and Shou Ho. Finally, he fixed his gaze on Yang Wu and asked, "You're Yang Wu from the Death Legion?" Yang Wu was stunned for a moment and nodded. "That's me." That's right. Men, tie him up. Captain Guo's expression turned cold as he shouted. In an instant, several soldiers surrounded Yang Wu and placed their weapons on Yang Wu's neck. They wanted to release Yang Wu. Guominji, what do you mean by this? Yan Mingjing immediately asked with dissatisfaction. Along the way, he had a good impression of Yang Wu. Moreover, he was his savior. How could he watch as Yang Wu was captured? Commander Yan, this is the person that Commander Chao wanted to capture. He is a prison slave soldier and a criminal. Guominji responded. Why does Chao Qinggong want to capture him? There has to be a reason. Even if he is a prison slave soldier, he has the right to clear his name after being sent to the Death Legion. What right does Chao Qinggong have to capture him again? Yan Mingjing frowned. Guominji was at a loss for words. He didn't expect Yan Mingjing to be so protective of Yang Wu. After all, Yan Mingjing's status was similar to Chao Qinggong's. They both had the potential to become major generals of the younger generation. Guominji gritted his teeth and said, I don't dare to disobey Commander Chao's orders. Please don't make things difficult for me, Commander Yan. Looks like you've also become Chao Qinggong's follower. He hasn't become a major general yet, let alone a young marshal. Yan Mingjing sneered. Then he pulled Yang Wu's arm and said, Brother Yang, let's go. Let's see who dares to catch you. Yan Mingjing was the vice commander of the scout camp. His status was much higher than Guominji's. Guominji didn't dare to disobey, but that didn't mean that others didn't. Someone rushed over and shouted, Under the orders of General Chao, we are to capture Yang Wu. Anyone who disobeys will be beheaded. The person who rushed over held a token. Immediately, everyone present knelt down, including Yan Mingjing. This was a lieutenant general's token, second only to the general's token. Brother Yang, how did you offend Chao Qinggong? He actually got a general's order to capture you. Yan Mingjing whispered to Yang Wu. Yang Wu replied with a sullen face, I don't know any Chao Qinggong at all. If you don't know him, then why does he want to capture you? Yan Mingjing asked again. Maybe it's because my crime is too big. Yang Wu sighed softly. He knew very well that those who wanted to deal with him could casually arrange a crime and put him to death, unless he rebelled now. The person who came quickly arrived in front of everyone and said to Guominji, Captain Guo, what are you waiting for? Tie up the criminal. Yes, Guominji replied excitedly. He had been afraid of Yan Mingjing before, but now that there was a general's order, he naturally wouldn't be afraid anymore. Just as Guominji and the others were about to take Yang Wu, Shou Ho shouted, Don't even think about capturing my big brother. We've already earned a lot of merits, and will soon be rid of our crimes. You can't just arbitrarily torture him. You've come to the military camp. You have to obey orders. Violators will be killed. The person who had just arrived sneered. Shou Ho wanted to resist, but Yang Wu stopped him and said, You go back to the Death Corps first. I'll be fine. Yang Wu surrendered without putting up a fight. He did not resist and allowed the soldiers to take him to a tent. Since Fire Cloud Tiger and Little Hay, who had followed him back, were nowhere to be found, they didn't brazenly follow them into the army. Brother Yang, don't worry. I'll definitely think of a way to save you. Yan Mingjing's face was filled with determination as he shouted and quickly ran in another direction. Obviously, he was going to ask for help. Shou Ho looked on helplessly as Yang Wu was captured. His eyes were filled with tears as he clenched his fists and said, Big brother, you must be fine. Immediately after, he ran back to the Death Corps, hoping to use his merits to exchange for Yang Wu's life. Yang Wu was quickly brought to a tent. He saw a young man dressed in green sitting in front of a couch with two maids serving him. He was enjoying an extremely luxurious life. This young man was quite handsome, and there was a sharp aura around him. He was quite a charming person. He was one of the vice commanders of the heavy armor camp, Chao Qinggong. He was one of the candidates for Major General. There were a total of 8 major generals, all of whom were the youngest talents in the barbarian suppression army. Now that the major generals of the previous generation had been promoted to lieutenant general, the battle for major general was about to begin. Chao Qinggong was undoubtedly the most popular candidate. Only by becoming a major general could one be qualified to compete for the most powerful position of young marshal. That was the first among the younger generation and could command an army of 50,000 people. It was equivalent to holding 1/3 of the power among the generals. His status was almost the same as a lieutenant general, and he could become a marshal in the future. A young marshal and 8 major generals had always been the tradition of the barbarian suppression army. It was exactly the same as the Grand Marshal and the 8 lieutenant generals. After Guominji brought Yang Wu to the tent, he respectfully knelt down and said to Chao Qinggong, "Commander Chao, I've brought Yang Wu." Guominji chose to follow Chao Qinggong because he thought highly of Chao Qingying. Not only did he have a lieutenant general father, but he had also touched the top general realm. Before the battle between young marshal and major general began, he should be able to break through that step. At that time, Chao Qinggong might be able to take the step of becoming a young marshal. If this happened, Guominji would benefit. Chao Qinggong raised his eyes and nodded at Guominji. Then he looked at Yang Wu and said, "You're Yang Wu, the one who injured my cousin. I heard that you obtained an incredible damaged royal weapon. Show it to me." "The weapon has been destroyed," Yang Wu replied. "Is that so? Then you can die," Chao Qinggong said calmly without showing the slightest change in his expression. "Many people want me to die, but I'm still alive." At this moment, Yang Wu didn't plan to stay quiet. He might rebel. "How dare you talk to Commander Chao like this?" Guominji rebuked angrily. Then he raised his hand and slapped Yang Wu angrily. Yang Wu was tied up, but he could still move. He nimbly turned his face to avoid Guominji's slap. He looked at Guominji coldly and shouted, "Who do you think you are?" As Yang Wu shouted, the ox tendon rope tied to his body instantly broke inch by inch. A powerful aura was unmistakable on his body. He had finally gathered 500 barbarian heads with great difficulty. Before he could hand in the merit points, he was about to be beheaded. He really couldn't stand it anymore. Guominji was so frightened by Yang Wu's aura that he took 2 steps back. An ugly expression appeared on his face as he said, "You still want to resist? Take him down and behead him." There were a total of 4 people who had just released Yang Wu. They had been behind Yang Wu all this time. When they heard Guominji's rebuke, they wanted to capture Yang Wu. However, Yang Wu had already decided to go all out. How could he let them succeed? He turned around and kicked at the 4 people, sending them flying. Those people were only at the warrior level. Yang Wu could easily deal with them. "You dare to rebel!" Guominji angrily shouted. He was about to pull out his sword to kill Yang Wu, but unfortunately, before he could even finish his words, Yang Wu's hand had already clasped his neck, squeezing so hard that he couldn't even speak. "Do you believe that I won't break your neck right now?" Yang Wu's eyes flashed with a strong light as he shouted. Guominji revealed an extremely fearful expression. He felt that if he dared to struggle and resist, Yang Wu would really dare to kill him. "You really have guts. How dare you violate military discipline?" Chao Qinggong said faintly. "You want to take my weapon and kill me. Who is the one who violated military discipline first?" Yang Wu questioned Chao Qinggong. "Haha, I'm a commander. You're just a prison slave soldier. I'm already giving you face by asking you to die. You still don't know what's good for you. Do you really think you can overturn the heavens here?" Chao Qinggong looked at Yang Wu contemptuously and said, "I can't overturn the heavens, but it shouldn't be difficult to take you down." After Yang Wu said that, he grabbed at Chao Qinggong. Since he wanted to save his life, he had to take Chao Qinggong as a hostage first and escape from here. When he cultivated to the King realm, he could return to King City. It was better than losing his life here. How dare you? The women serving Chao Qinggong shouted at the same time. Sharp daggers appeared in their hands, and they stabbed at Yang Wu at the same time. These two women had actually reached the top warrior realm. Their strength was not bad. Unfortunately, this bit of strength was not enough in Yang Wu's eyes. Yang Wu stretched out his hands and grabbed their wrists. He shouted, "Let go!" Clang! The daggers in the hands of the two women fell to the ground at the same time. They were rudely pushed away by Yang Wu. There was no way for them to obstruct Yang Wu at all. However, at this moment, Chao Qinggong, who was sitting, suddenly exploded. He used his finger as a sword and went straight for Yang Wu's throat. The sharp sword qi reached Yang Wu's throat in an instant. As long as it moved forward, it would pierce through Yang Wu's throat. Yang Wu's reaction was extremely fast. When Chao Qinggong's sword qi was about to pierce him, he leaned back and dodged the fatal blow. At the same time, he kicked out with his fastest reaction. Chao Qinggong's body leaned to the side. Yang Wu's kick landed heavily on the tense cloth. In an instant, the tense cloth was torn apart. Bang! Chapter 139. Yang Wu's attack had failed, but he did not leave immediately. Instead, he stepped out a few more times. The power of his scimitar kick swept across. The entire tent could not withstand Yang Wu's power and completely collapsed. This alarmed the troops stationed around Chao Qinggong. Chao Qinggong rushed out of the collapsed tent. There was no trace of panic on his face. He calmly shouted, "Yang Wu, you are very bold. You dare to rebel in public. Men, capture the traitor." As Chao Qinggong's voice fell, many soldiers rushed over from the left and right and surrounded the area. Yang Wu broke out of the tent and was immediately locked down by dozens of soldiers. Yang Wu did not want to make things difficult for these soldiers. He sighed in his heart. "It seems that I can't stay in the military palace any longer." Dozens of soldiers raised their weapons and stabbed at Yang Wu angrily. The sharp Xian Qi formed an encirclement, wanting to kill Yang Wu on the spot. Yang Wu did not even think. He released the Xian armor on his body, forming a strong protection. At the same time, he chose a direction to break out of the encirclement. Bang bang! The soldiers' attacks were fierce and powerful, but they could not break Yang Wu's Xian armor. This was a defense comparable to a top-notch Xian armor. Ordinary soldiers' attacks were ineffective. Yang Wu rushed to the front of the soldiers and slapped out with his palms. The powerful force crushed the soldiers and sent them flying. Yang Wu's attacks were very measured. He did not take the lives of these soldiers. Just as Yang Wu broke out of the encirclement, Chao Qinggong, who had not made a move all this time, made his move. It's not that easy to escape. Chao Qinggong pulled out a green sword. A green light that was 10 feet long stabbed at Yang Wu's back. He wanted to break through Yang Wu's defense. Yang Wu's reaction was shocking. He felt the threat behind him and used a clever move to avoid Chao Qinggong's attack. Chao Qinggong's power was used to kill the soldiers that surrounded Yang Wu. This time, Chao Qinggong was enraged. He roared, "Yang Wu, if you dare to escape again, I will destroy your entire family." Chao Qinggong's words completely infuriated Yang Wu. In Yang Wu's heart, his family was his taboo. How could he allow others to threaten them? Yang Wu stopped breaking out of the encirclement. He turned around and looked at Chao Qinggong coldly. "What did you just say? Say it again if you have the guts." Yang Wu's eyes were red with anger, and a strong killing intent was released. The surrounding soldiers were so frightened that they didn't dare to move. Even Chao Qinggong felt a chill invade his body, and he faintly felt timid. After all, Chao Qinggong was a popular candidate for Major General. He wasn't a coward. He raised his green sword and pointed at Yang Wu. "If you dare to escape, I will destroy your entire family. Then I will kill your entire family first." Yang Wu was completely enraged. After he roared, he charged at Chao Qinggong. "If I don't show my power, you think I'm a sick cat? Do you really think I'm one of those good-for-nothings? Chao Qinggong frowned and shouted. He raised his sword and charged at Yang Wu. The clash here naturally attracted the attention of the surrounding soldiers. More and more soldiers surrounded them. What happened? Who angered Commander Chao? I'm not sure. Someone must have come to assassinate Commander Chao. Let's surround this place first. Someone is about to rebel. Everyone be careful. Don't let that person escape. Otherwise we will all be in trouble. Commander Chao is one of the candidates for Major General. His combat power is amazing. That young man actually dares to challenge Commander Chao. He really doesn't know how to write the word death. Chao Qinggong was in the advanced general realm, only one step away from the top general realm. He could fight against a top general realm expert and could be considered a genius. When he attacked, waves of powerful sword light cut and strangled Yang Wu. The domineering sword light could break the Xian armor of a top warlord. This kind of power could deal with other experts in the general realm, but it was nothing to Yang Wu. He could see through the flaws in these sword lights. He avoided the important ones and focused on the trivial ones. He directly slapped several times at Chao Qinggong's flaws. The power of each slap was merciless. The destructive power broke through Chao Qinggong's sword light and hit Chao Qinggong hard. Bang! Chao Qinggong never dreamed that his attack would be broken by a single move. When he felt the intense pain in his body had already been thrown far away. Blood spurted out wildly. Before he fell, he exclaimed, How could he be so powerful? Yang Wu looked 10 years younger than him, but he was actually more powerful than him. He could not accept this fact. The moment he fell to the ground, he almost fainted from the pain. All the soldiers who had gathered around were dumbfounded. Who on earth was this young man? He was able to defeat a future major general in one move. This was simply too ferocious. Yang Wu chased after Chao Qinggong like a shadow. Before Chao Qinggong could stand up, he grabbed him and slapped him hard in the face. His handsome face was red and swollen, and blood overflowed from the corners of his mouth. Believe it or not, I'll kill you right now. Yang Wu glared at Chao Qinggong and shouted. The strong killing intent that filled his body made Chao Qinggong feel cold all over. However, Chao Qinggong still stubbornly said, Kill me if you can. My father is Lieutenant General Chao. If I die, you won't be able to live either. As soon as Chao Qinggong finished speaking, Yang Wu slapped him a few more times. Chao Qinggong's nose was bruised and his face was swollen. He looked very miserable. How could Chao Qinggong be willing to be captured like this? He wanted to resist, but Yang Wu's divine court was extremely sensitive. When he was about to move, Yang Wu already knew in advance. He continued to beat him until he screamed and vomited blood. A large number of soldiers who were constantly gathering around did not dare to move forward. Some of the bolder ones exclaimed, Put down Commander Chao. This person held a large saber and slashed at Yang Wu angrily. The saber light that was 15 meters long was quite powerful. Yang Wu did not even think about it. He held Chao Qinggong in front of him as a shield. The man was so scared that he quickly slashed the saber light to the side. A crack appeared on the ground, and sand and dust flew everywhere. I'll kill whoever dares to move, Yang Wu said coldly as he grabbed Chao Qinggong in his hand like he was holding a dead dog. This time, Yang Wu had made a big scene. The superiors in the other tents rushed out one after another. Many soldiers kept moving around, layer after layer, surrounding the area so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. At a glance, there were at least several thousand people. Who dares to commit murder in the barracks? You must be tired of living. A loud and clear voice shouted out in alarm. Immediately after, several generals in armor walked out. The one leading them was the infantry general Sima Natu, who Yang Wu had met once before. When Yang Wu saw Sima Natu again, he immediately felt the terrifying aura of a king contained in Sima Natu's body. There was also a strong killing power surrounding him. This was a tiger general who had been on the battlefield for a long time. After seeing Sima Natu, many soldiers bowed. If it were not for the enemy in front of them, they would have knelt. Beside Sima Natu were the infantry deputy general Gu Chongjing, who had wanted to recruit Yang Wu, the fighting dragon camp's deputy general Hong Ilong, and the heavy armor camp's Nan Runan. The others were also commander-level figures. When Sima Nata saw Yang Wu, he felt a trace of familiarity, but he did not immediately remember who this youth was. Gu Chongjing exclaimed, "He's Yang Wu who comprehended the 7 great battle skill steals." Sima Natu nodded in understanding, then reprimanded, "Yang Wu, what are you doing? Why are you kidnapping Chao Qinggong? Do you know that this is a crime punishable by death?" "General, I didn't want to kidnap him, but he wanted to kill me for no reason." Yang Wu met Sima Nata's gaze and replied, "What's going on?" Sima Nata frowned. At this time, Guominji knelt and said, "General Sima, please uphold justice for Commander Chao." He only asked Yang Wu to come and question him. He didn't expect that Yang Wu would want to kidnap Commander Chao without a word. He's too bold. Yang Wu sneered. "It's clear that he wants to take the damaged king armament from me, but that king armament was destroyed when I was hunting the barbarian army. Moreover, I have offended his so-called cousin before, so he wants to kill me. This is the so-called military law. I, Yang Wu, refuse to accept this. I, Yang Wu, refuse to accept this." These 5 words were sonorous and forceful, shaking the eardrums of all the soldiers around him. Yang Wu released a high-spirited aura. Facing Sima Natu, the commanders, and the soldiers, he was not afraid at all. He had cast aside all honor and disgrace, and his state of mind had become much more magnanimous and comfortable. "You offended your superiors, you deserve to die." When Chao Qinggong saw Sima Natu arrive, he ignored the injuries on his body and gritted his teeth again. "You think you can easily take a soldier's life just because you're sitting in a superior position? Moreover, I belong to the Death Legion, not your faction. You have no right to punish me." Yang Wu replied and slapped Chao Qinggong a few more times. The slaps were loud and painful, causing the people around him to feel pain. Enough. Sima Nata couldn't bear it anymore and shouted. The aura of a king on his body pressed down on Yang Wu. This aura of a king was condensed from hundreds of battles. The surrounding soldiers all revealed expressions of incomparable reverence, and all of them knelt down on the spot. Yang Wu, who was in the front, faced this aura. It was like the power of a vast ocean rushing towards him, but also like a mighty army galloping. The terrifying power was incomparably terrifying. Sima Natu was definitely not an ordinary king. Yang Wu naturally didn't want to be captured without a fight. He had even seen a heavenly demon before, and his body had unknowingly condensed the aura of a king. Although Sima Nata's aura was oppressive, it didn't make him feel too uncomfortable. It was still within the range of what he could bear. Sima Nata saw that Yang Wu was still able to hold Chao Qinggong hostage, and a look of surprise appeared on his face. He thought to himself, "This kid can actually withstand my pressure. It seems like his potential is really extraordinary. What a pity." Sima Nata didn't waste any more words and chose to attack. He had to take Yang Wu down. Otherwise, it would affect the army too much, and it would be difficult to explain to Chao Qinggong's father. The moment Sima Natu attacked, a cold and delicate voice rang out. "My Death Legion's people will be dealt with by this general." When this voice fell, Sima Natu immediately stopped and didn't dare to attack again. Chapter 140. The person who came was a woman dressed in black. She wore a black and white mask on her face, revealing only a pair of cold eyes and a pair of sexy baby lips. Although her face couldn't be seen clearly, her exquisite figure was very perfect. She was curvy where it should be, and thin where it should be. No matter how one looked at her, she was a stunner. However, such a woman made people feel incomparably reverent. Even Sima Natu was afraid of her. This was because she was the leader of the Death Corps, the Rose of Death. Her path of death wasn't inferior to that of the Death War King. She was one of the top 5 figures in the army. When the Rose of Death walked over, the surrounding soldiers consciously opened up a path for her to slowly walk over. Beside her was the cold-faced adjutant. Yang Wu looked at the Rose of Death. Even though he couldn't see through her mask, he could already guess who this woman was. He laughed bitterly in his heart. Looks like I won't be able to escape today. Previously, wasn't it the Rose of Death's doing that he was thrown near the barbarian territory? In order to save her, he accidentally saw something he shouldn't have seen. In the end, he still suffered revenge. There was no justice in this world. Yang Wu, why aren't you letting him go? The cold-faced adjutant looked at Yang Wu and said coldly. If I let him go, will you protect me? I didn't do anything wrong. Yang Wu replied. The cold-faced adjutant was about to reply when the Rose of Death said, You've been out for almost a month. If you don't have enough merits to turn in, you can go die. Yang Wu laughed bitterly. How many merits do I need to turn in to be considered enough? Until I'm satisfied, the Rose of Death said indifferently. These words were very domineering. Such an answer not only left Yang Wu speechless, but even the surrounding soldiers were all speechless. What did she mean by until you're satisfied? As expected, this Rose of Death wasn't someone easy to deal with. Alright. Yang Wu sighed lightly and threw Chao Qinggong out like a dead dog. There were soldiers on his left and right who caught him. Chao Qinggong's face was filled with anger. He hated Yang Wu to the core. Yang Wu had beaten him up in front of so many people, making him lose all face. If he didn't kill Yang Wu, he wasn't human. Alright, you can all leave now. We will give Commander Chao a satisfactory explanation. Disperse, Sima Nata said to the soldiers. Thus, the several thousand soldiers dispersed from the outside. However, they all remembered the ruthless person Yang Wu. He even dared to kidnap and beat up Commander Chao. No one else had the guts to do that. If he didn't die this time, he would definitely establish great prestige in the army. Little He, cooperate with me and bring out the head of the barbarian tribe, Yang Wu said after sensing Little He. Now that something had happened to Yang Wu, Little He was naturally not far from him. It could not let Yang Wu die. Don't worry, this immortal emperor is disgusted to keep these dead heads. Little He replied. The cold-faced adjutant said, Where are your merits? Take them out. Do you all want me to take them out here? Yang Wu asked. Take them out immediately and stop talking nonsense. The Rose of Death wanted to make things difficult for Yang Wu. She had an indescribable feeling towards this youth, who had seen her naked body. She wanted him to die, but she couldn't make up her mind. She was very conflicted. Then I'll have to trouble you to make some space. I won't be able to fit my merits here. Yang Wu replied. The Rose of Death and Sima Nata both revealed astonished expressions. The other commanders who hadn't left were the same. They wanted to see what other tricks Yang Wu could play. They didn't think that Yang Wu still had a way to escape. Everyone, look carefully. These are the heads I killed when I went deep into the barbarian army's front line. Yang Wu shouted. He raised his hand, opened his palm, and pressed it down. He thought that a sky full of heads would fall, but in reality, there was no movement at all. Everyone stared unblinkingly at Yang Wu's movements. Unfortunately, they discovered that there was no movement in the empty space. This made things awkward. Are you playing with us? The Rose of Death said coldly. There are no jokes in the military. Yang Wu, if you don't take out your merits, we will punish you according to military law for disobeying your superiors. Sima Natu also spoke up. Yang Wu smiled awkwardly and said, How could that be? It was just a moment of carelessness. He cursed Little He in his heart for being too unreliable. He then shouted, When are you going to show me my merits? Before anyone could regain their senses, The empty ground was already littered with the heads of the barbarian soldiers. Every head was so ferocious that it was a ghastly sight. This time, everyone present was completely stunned. There were actually so many barbarian heads. How did they appear? Even the Rose of Death, who had always been indifferent, revealed an extremely moved expression in her beautiful eyes. "Kid, how did you do it?" The cold-faced adjutant's face was no longer cold as he cried out involuntarily. The other commanders, such as Hong Ilong, Nan Runan, and Gu Chongjing, all stared at Yang Wu. Their hearts couldn't calm down. This young man in front of them was too abnormal. "Adjutant, don't worry about how I did it. Just count the heads here," Yang Wu said calmly. Right now, he couldn't care too much. He just wanted to get out of this predicament. The cold-faced adjutant didn't refute and immediately counted the heads in front of Yang Wu. He quickly said, "There are a total of 230 heads here. Basically, it's worth 10,000 merit." The merits were calculated according to the strength and number of enemies killed. The heads in front of them were all barbarian soldiers. Each head was worth between 10 and 50 merit. Only those who had reached the general realm would be able to reach 100 merit. The cold-faced adjutant was experienced and knowledgeable. He was able to distinguish the barbarian soldiers' realm when they were alive from some of their characteristics. After hearing this, some of the commanders and soldiers couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. 10,000 merits wasn't a small amount. If they wanted to obtain so many merit points, they would need to accumulate them over a long period of time. Moreover, it would be difficult for a single person to complete such a task. They would need to cooperate with a team. This was because every team of barbarian soldiers would have a barbarian general leading them. How could they be defeated so easily? Yang Wu ignored the stunned crowd and asked, "Are these merits enough?" The Rose of Death coldly said, "Not enough." Sima Nada smiled slightly and said, "It's indeed not enough, but it's enough to reduce your punishment." They were all at the King realm, so killing these people was nothing to them. They were more curious about whether Yang Wu had any treasures on him. Otherwise, how could he have collected these heads? "Alright, add a few more then." Yang Wu also knew that it wasn't enough. Back then, the cold-faced adjutant had told him that he had to harvest at least 500 barbarian heads in order to get rid of his current status. He had indeed collected enough, but Little Hay didn't take out the heads at all. When Yang Wu waved his hand again, another 300 barbarian heads appeared on the ground. This time, everyone present was so shocked that they couldn't speak. They were all puzzled. Did this guy destroy an army or dig up the barbarians' graves? He actually took out more than 500 heads in one go. This time, the cold-faced adjutant counted the heads again and discovered that there were actually dozens of general realm heads. He had a very strong impression of one of them. He cried out involuntarily, This is the barbarian race's strongest warrior candidate, Araluo. There's also the beast tamer Menggu and the top-notch barbarian general Agu. Great Xia had already collected information on some of the famous barbarian generals or leaders of the younger generation in the barbarian army, so it wasn't surprising that the cold-faced adjutant could recognize them. However, with so many barbarian generals dying here, it really made his heart beat faster. The others could no longer remain calm and exclaimed one after another. These people usually have large groups following them around. How could they die just like that? Could it be a trap? If this kid really killed them, then he's too heaven-defying. These heads have been dead for quite some time. They don't seem to be fake. I'm afraid that he has a universal spirit tool. Otherwise, how could he collect so many heads? But what kind of spirit tool can collect so many heads? Yang Wu might have obtained a great opportunity. Maybe these people also died in that great opportunity and he took advantage of it. For a moment, everyone present looked at Yang Wu with greedy gazes. They felt that Yang Wu had obtained a great opportunity. Otherwise, how could he have collected so many heads? Yang Wu's reaction was incomparably sharp. Naturally, he could feel their strange gazes, but he couldn't care less. If someone really wanted to search him, he had nothing to be afraid of. Adjutant, you said that as long as I bring back 500 barbarian heads, I can atone for my crimes. Now it should be enough, right? Yang Wu asked calmly. The cold-faced adjutant didn't know what to say. The Rose of Death said, "It's enough to wash away your original identity as a prison slave, but it's not enough to wash away your crime of offending your superiors." Yang Wu was furious. He really wanted to curse. "I saved your life, woman. How can you repay kindness with ingratitude? You really think I'm a clay figurine that you can knead at will?" Unfortunately, he didn't dare to say these words out loud. He didn't have enough confidence to face a true king. "Little Hay, take out all the heads," Yang Wu ordered Little Hay. Little Hay didn't make a fuss and took out all the heads in one go. Its concealment methods were unparalleled. Even the Rose of Death and Sima Natu couldn't detect it. Another pile of heads appeared on the ground. Yang Wu had killed 2 batches of barbarian soldiers. In total, there were at least 900 heads. This number was comparable to an army of 1,000 people. This time, everyone was so numb that they couldn't see clearly. "I've killed so many barbarians. If it's not enough, then there's nothing I can do. But I definitely won't give up without a fight." Yang Wu had already made a final show of resistance. Everyone present was silent. Regardless of whether Yang Wu had personally obtained this military merit, it belonged to Yang Wu now. If he were to be rewarded, Yang Wu would definitely be able to rise to the rank of commander. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to even be conferred the title of Major General. One had to know that there were nearly 100 barbarian generals and so many barbarian soldiers killed here. This military merit for one person was really great. "Alright, come back with me. From now on, you'll be one of the vice-commanders of the Death Corps. You'll only be responsible for me," the Rose of Death said faintly. Chapter 141. Deputy Commander. This was a position above centurions and chiliarchs. It was equivalent to the position of a major, but it was even more important than a major. Once this right was granted, Yang Wu's position would be quite impressive. Many people struggled to be conferred the position of commander, but Yang Wu could be said to have reached the heavens in a single bound. It was truly enviable. Sima Natu turned to look at the Rose of Death and said indifferently, "This doesn't seem to follow the rules? This is my army's matter. What I say is the rules. If you don't agree, you can report it to the marshal," the Rose of Death said coldly. Then, she no longer paid attention to the crowd and turned to leave. Yang Wu was still stunned on the spot, but the cold-faced adjutant shouted, "What are you waiting for?" Yang Wu came back to his senses and quickly jogged in the direction of the Rose of Death and the cold-faced adjutant. Until now, he still felt like he was dreaming. How did he get promoted to the position of deputy commander? This happiness came too quickly. "Congratulations, Brother Yang. Let's drink together in the future." Hong Ilong was the first to react. He cupped his hands and said to Yang Wu. Yan Mingjing, who had just arrived, heard the Rose of Death's words and also shouted to Yang Wu, "Brother Yang, you're rich." The other commanders also congratulated him. "Congratulations, Brother Yang, on your meteoric rise. What a pity. Brother Yang, if you have the chance in the future, come to the archery camp and find me, Old Wei, to eat meat and drink together. I welcome you at any time." Regardless of whether these people were sincere or not, their attitude towards Yang Wu had taken a 180-degree turn. Even if Yang Wu was still in the Death Corps, his position was definitely not fake. Furthermore, he had the qualifications to fight for the position of Major General. A youth who could take down Chao Qinggong naturally had potential that couldn't be underestimated. Yang Wu cupped his hands and replied, thank you. Let's drink and kill enemies together in the future." Then, he didn't stay any longer and quickly left with the Rose of Death and the cold-faced adjutant. The farce ended just like that, but Yang Wu's name was spread in a small area. Have you heard? Vice leader Chao Qinggong was beaten up. Who is so bold as to violate military discipline? Moreover, he is the son of Lieutenant General Chao. Could he be a future Major General? No, I heard that it's a young man from the Death Legion. Not only did he beat up Vice Commander Chao, but he was also directly promoted to Vice Commander by the Death Legion commander. This is simply heaven-defying. There's such a thing? Even the captain was alarmed. Looks like that young man's background is not simple. That young man's name is Yang Wu, and he will be the Vice Commander of the Death Legion in the future. He might just be a figurehead, but we have to be careful. He even beat up Vice Commander Chao. If we don't respect him, we might not even be able to keep our heads. Now, Chao Qinggong was sent to one of the largest tents in the center of the army. He was beaten black and blue by Yang Wu, and he looked really miserable. The people who carried him did not dare to make the slightest sound for fear of angering this lord. After the soldiers put Chao Qinggong down, they quietly left the tent. There was only a middle-aged man in hemp clothes sitting in the tent. He looked to be in his 50s, and his green hair was tied up. He wore a green headband on his forehead with a jade inlaid in the middle like a third eye. It was very dazzling. His body was robust and did not look old at all. Just by sitting there, he released the demeanor of a superior. He was Chao Qinggong's father, Chao Jianda, one of the 8 lieutenant generals under the marshal. Father, you can help me vent my anger. Chao Qinggong climbed down from the stretcher and said pitifully to his father. Chao Jianda looked at his son with a trace of anger in his eyes, but he quickly restrained it. He could see that his son's injuries were only superficial and would be fine after a few days of recuperation. He faintly said, "I've heard about what happened to you. You suffered a loss, so swallow it." "Father," Chao Qinggong unhappily called out. Chao Jianda stood up and said with his hands behind his back, "These few years have been too smooth for you. You almost treat the army camp as your own backyard and feel that you can do whatever you want. Have you ever thought about what will happen to you once your father is no longer here? But that kid is someone the higher-ups want to kill. If I kill him, the higher-ups will put the credit on our heads. This is good for us," Chao Qinggong said very rationally. "That's a good idea, but it's a pity you're still too naive," Chao Jiangong said with a trace of satisfaction. He paused for a moment and said, "A small pawn is not worthy of you personally making a move. Just find an excuse and execute him. You have to make such a big move. This is a bad plan. Moreover, you have to let that brat show off too much. If that little girl Rose likes him, she will most likely protect him. Even if the marshal asks, she can refuse. This way, it will be even harder for you to kill him." "Are we just going to let it go like this?" Chao Qinggong said with clenched fists. "Of course not. In a month, the battle for the major general position will begin. At that time, you can openly kill him and wash away your humiliation," Chao Jianda said. "Didn't you say that it would be held in 2 or 3 months? Why is it suddenly brought forward?" Chao Qinggong said in surprise. "The barbarian army has been acting strangely recently. A while ago, even the barbarian tribe leader was mobilized. I'm afraid that within this year, they will attack us in the south, so we have to prepare in advance. This time, you must win the position of Major General," Chao Jianda said with certainty. "I'm confident that I can win the position of Major General, but that kid is a bit strange." Chao Qinggong was too embarrassed to say that he was no match for Yang Wu. He couldn't understand why that kid was so much stronger than him even though he was 10 years younger than him. He had thought that only Wan Lanxin, who had recently joined the team, was more talented than him. Now there was another kid which made him very unhappy. "Don't worry, I'll help you reach the peak of the general realm within a month, and I'll also give you some trump cards," Chao Jianda said, then took out a pill and showed it to Chao Qinggong. Chao Qinggong's eyes lit up when he saw the pill. Is this the acupoint unsealing pill? Yes, it's the acupoint unsealing pill that can directly raise a general's realm, Chao Jinda said with a faint smile. Acupoint unsealing pills were not easy to find, but as a lieutenant general and a king, it was not too difficult for him to get his hands on one. In a month, I'll definitely kill that kid to vent my anger. Yang Wu did not need to think to know that Chao Qinggong would hold a grudge against him, but he had no time to think about these things. He had already arrived at a military tent with the Rose of Death and the cold-faced adjutant. This military tent was not as luxurious as those in the central area and was not much different from an ordinary commander's tent. However, this was the exclusive military tent of the Rose of Death. It was located right in front of the entire military camp. If the barbarian army headed north one day, the first place they would flatten would be this tent. It could be seen that the Rose of Death had chosen to live here alone and had long disregarded life and death. Adjutant, go record his merit points and prepare some tents and necessary spoils for him. After arriving at the military tent, the Rose of Death sent the cold-faced adjutant out. Yes, Commander. The cold-faced adjutant responded respectfully and retreated. Only the Rose of Death and Yang Wu were left in the military tent. Yang Wu felt uncomfortable all over. Fortunately, he was someone who had seen a heavenly Yao and quickly adapted to it. He asked, "What do you want?" He really did not know what the Rose of Death was planning and had no idea. I said before that as long as you can come back alive from the barbarian front lines, the matter between us will be written off. Right now, I want you to be the vice commander of the Death Legion. You have the ability, the Rose of Death said calmly. Okay, the matter in the past will be written off. Don't find excuses to make things difficult for me. Yang Wu immediately said excitedly. He couldn't wait to erase the grudges between him and this woman. Even if he had been tricked by this woman before, it could be considered that she had helped him break free from his identity as a prison slave. I won't make things difficult for you, but you are my subordinate. You have to listen to me, the Rose of Death said indifferently. Yang Wu was unable to see through her mask, otherwise, he would definitely be able to see that her sexy jade lips were outlining a beautiful arc. Yes, I promise to obey your orders. Yang Wu straightened his body. He felt that as long as he obeyed orders and did everything related to him well, she would not make things difficult for him anymore. Okay, then listen well. I want you to return the power of the Seed of Death to me right now. The Rose of Death said. Ah, how can I return this? Yang Wu instantly exclaimed. Just release it and let me feel it, the Rose of Death said in a relaxed tone. Okay. Yang Wu had no reason to object and could only accept it. Thus, Yang Wu activated his own path of death, causing this place to be filled with the smell of death. The Rose of Death had once been in the path of death. She could feel that the power of Yang Wu's path of death was much purer than hers. It was completely incomparable to the brand of death that she had originally condensed. However, there was a remnant seed power in the Rose of Death's divine court that was drawn in, giving her the feeling of returning to the path of death. For some reason, she felt a sense of intimacy with Yang Wu's power. This was the most essential seed left behind by her brand of death. It had not been completely absorbed by Yang Wu. I can feel it. This time, I can really break free from the battle monarch of death's brand and cultivate my own path of death. The Rose of Death said joyfully. Yang Wu asked, "Is it okay?" He felt the Rose of Death's fiery gaze, which made him feel a little scared. Even though the Rose of Death's beauty was outstanding and there was nothing to say about her figure, he did not have the guts to imagine something wonderful happening with her. Okay, I will give you a mission from now on. Make the 10 vice commanders in the army listen to your commands within a month, the Rose of Death said. This mission will offend people. Yang Wu did not understand why the Rose of Death would give such an order, but he knew that this mission was not so easy to accept. The 10 vice-commanders of the Death Legion were all extraordinary and had a bunch of capable people under them. Although he was not afraid, he did not want to provoke enemies everywhere. "This is an order. Just carry it out. Okay, you can leave now," the Rose of Death said indifferently. Chapter 142. Haha, from now on, I'm the vice-commander. Yang Wu laughed maniacally as soon as he walked out of the Rose of Death's tent. During this period of time, he had endured humiliation and finally gotten rid of his identity as a prison slave soldier. Furthermore, he had risen to the heavens in a single step and became a vice-commander. This was a title that he had obtained through his own merit. It was different from his previous hereditary title of Viscount. The former was obtained through his own efforts, while the latter was obtained through the shadow of his predecessors. It was a completely different feeling. Yang Wu couldn't help but want to tell this news to everyone in the world. He wanted to tell Shou Ho, Wan Lanxin, and Little Man. He even wanted to tell his separated parents and younger brother that he had taken the first step to revitalize the Yang family. If he was in any other military camp, there would definitely be a large number of soldiers coming to congratulate him when he was promoted to vice-commander. However, this was the Death Legion, a legion without military rules. No one cared about Yang Wu as the new vice-commander because they were the laziest group of people. They would only respect him if he had enough strength to deter them. Yang Wu quickly suppressed the excitement in his heart. He had to first go to the cold adjutant to receive everything that belonged to him. He also had to go to the purification pool to completely remove the bad luck that was branded on his body. Only after going through the baptism of the purification pool could he be considered to have truly gotten rid of his identity as a prison slave. The purification pool was an important place in the military and was guarded by a king. No one could easily enter it. Soon, Yang Wu arrived at the cold adjutant's tent. The cold adjutant had already prepared Yang Wu's vice-commander's exclusive reward. "This is your reward. Your merits are also recorded. You can use it to exchange for pills, battle techniques, weapons, etc." The cold adjutant was still coldly explaining some matters to Yang Wu. Yang Wu memorized all of this in his heart and felt an inexplicable sense of responsibility. His position as vice-commander wasn't just a title, he had to make contributions to this position. "Are there any other questions? If not, you may leave," the cold adjutant said. Yang Wu said, "Adjutant, I want to go to the purification pool to wash away the bad luck." "No problem. You and Sun Do are allowed to go to the cleansing pool together." The cold-faced adjutant showed a rare friendliness. For a young man that even their leader valued, he needed to lower his pride a little. Yang Wu cupped his hands and said gratefully, "Thank you, adjutant." After that, the cold-faced adjutant quickly wrote down a pass and stamped it with his seal. Then, he let Yang Wu take it. It was enough for him and Skinny Monkey to enter the purification pool together. Yang Wu thanked the cold-faced adjutant again before leaving the tent to look for Skinny Monkey. Skinny Monkey already knew about Yang Wu's matter. He was already waiting outside. When he saw Yang Wu come out, he immediately went forward to congratulate him. "Congratulations, big brother, on becoming a deputy commander." "Haha, let's go to the purification pool first. We'll celebrate after we come out." Yang Wu welcomed the Skinny Monkey and laughed heartily. This was definitely their happiest day in a while. Yang Wu and Skinny Monkey didn't have time to greet Li Dazue. Entering the purification pool was their top priority. The purification pool was located in a valley to the east of the military camp. It was a pool formed by diluting the spirit spring. Some plants that could purify bad luck were planted in it. At the bottom of the pool was the most important purification stone. This kind of purification stone had the ability to purify all kinds of bad luck and evil energy. Some soldiers who had been fighting outside all year round liked to stay near the purification pool to heal their wounds. This was because the purification pool could also purify the evil energy and evil energy on their body, making it difficult for them to go berserk. Under the lead of a soldier, Yang Wu and the skinny monkey-like man arrived in front of the purification pond. Around them there were many naked soldiers. All of them had injuries on their bodies, and their bodies were exuding a dense evil qi. The purification qi emitted from this place was purifying their qi, causing their facial expressions to become much more peaceful. This is the purification pool. After you hand over the documents, you can enter the pool. You can only soak in the pool for a quarter of an hour. If you exceed that time, you'll have to bear the consequences. The soldier who led Yang Wu and Skinny Monkey said as he pointed at the pool of water in front of them. "All right, thank you, brother," Yang Wu said gratefully. He then stuffed a piece of gold into the soldier's hand. A trace of joy flashed across the soldier's face, but he quickly hid it and said, "The purification pool has the ability to purify all kinds of bad luck. However, if you soak in it for a quarter of an hour, your fighting spirit and killing intent might be wiped out. This isn't a good thing for us soldiers, so you'll have to take care of yourselves." After that, the soldier turned and left. It was obvious that he had said all this because of the gold that Yang Wu had given him. "Let's go, brother. We'll soak in it for a while to get rid of the bad luck. It's just a formality anyway," Skinny Monkey said disapprovingly. "No, before we were imprisoned, we were branded with a slave seal. This seal was injected into our bodies, using a special method. Only the water in the purification pool can purify it, so we must wash it properly," Yang Wu said seriously. Immediately after, the two of them showed the documents to the soldiers who were stationed here and were allowed to enter the purification pool. The two of them were the first prison slave soldiers to enter the purification pool through their own efforts in recent years. In the past, most of the prison slave soldiers had died on the battlefield, so it was very difficult for them to get the chance to enter the purification pool. Yang Wu and the skinny monkey-like man's mood suddenly became much more excited. After they arrived at the purifying pool, they quickly took off their clothes and then jumped into the pool of warm water. Sizzle! As soon as they entered the purification pool, they immediately felt a very cool feeling wash over their bodies. It made them feel very comfortable and calm. At the same time, traces of the bad luck that had been branded on their bodies were invisibly expelled. They could clearly feel that their bodies had become ethereal. It was as if some kind of lock had been opened, releasing their original selves. "This is so good!" Yang Wu and Skinny Monkey couldn't help but exclaim. This comfortable feeling made them close their eyes and relax. The fatigue on their bodies was swept away. At this time, the soldiers on the shore muttered unhappily, "Where did these two lunatics come from? How could they be so crazy as to jump into the purification pool? Damn it! Don't they know that bathing in the purification pool is no longer allowed? Don't tell me they are two newbies? Who cares? When they come up, we'll teach them a lesson." These soldiers had seen blood on the battlefield. Even if some of the murderous aura was purified by the purification pool, their fiery personalities weren't so easily changed. When they saw the naked Yang Wu and Skinny Monkey soaking in the purification pool, they couldn't stand it. However, Yang Wu and Skinny Monkey couldn't hear them. They were already enjoying the feeling of relaxation. They couldn't hear what others were saying. 15 minutes passed quickly. However, Yang Wu and Skinny Monkey seemed to have forgotten the soldiers' warning. They were still soaking in the pool. The powerful purification pool finally invaded their bodies. First was the Skinny Monkey. He had the bloodline of the primordial monkey clan, and the purifying power stirred up his bloodline. However, his bloodline resisted at the first moment. This caused the Skinny Monkey's body to quietly transform. Many monkey hairs covered his body, and his eyes turned scarlet. This time, Skinny Monkey didn't go completely berserk. Instead, he clearly felt the changes in himself. His mind was inexplicably filled with fragmented memories. He muttered to himself, "How did I become like this? Am I a demon?" Skinny Monkey forced himself to calm down. He kept suppressing his bloodline, but the purification pool constantly stimulated his bloodline. He couldn't suppress it. At the same time, the purification pool wasn't very powerful. It wasn't able to dissolve his bloodline. It was because of this that Skinny Monkey's mind remained clear. That was how he awakened his original memories. Not far away, Yang Wu's situation was different. Yang Wu's bloodline was stimulated as well. A terrifying battle intent surged out. The invincible presence swept out in all directions, causing the soldiers on the shore to shiver. They felt like the temperature was rapidly dropping. They couldn't help but move away. Yang Wu's bloodline boiled. A few terrifying battle scenes flashed through his divine hall. There were birds flying across a 1,000-kilometer-long mountain range. There were beasts trampling mountains and rivers. There were also experts in the air facing off against all sorts of vicious creatures. The domineering power was enough to destroy the world. It was terrifyingly powerful. At the same time, his Death Dao flower was affected by the purification pool's power. It kept shrinking, making the flower bud more condensed. The purification pool's power would have wiped out the will of an ordinary warrior, but to Yang Wu and Skinny Monkey, it could only awaken their bloodline talents. It couldn't wear away their will. The old general who had been guarding the purification pool noticed the commotion in the purification pool. The old general had lost an arm. He sat in the air above the valley. It was as if he had merged with everything around him. No one noticed him. He was the one-armed war king, Zhuo Yidao, who had once killed the barbarians and frightened them. Zhuo Yidao had been fighting for 50 years. When he was young, he had lost an arm on the battlefield. Everyone thought he would be crippled, but he used his powerful will to walk the path of a one-armed blade. In the end, he became a king. Unfortunately, his body's weakness prevented him from going any further. So, 15 years ago, he chose to guard the purification pool. He wouldn't fight unless it was absolutely necessary. The life force of these two kids is shocking. Do they have powerful mutant blood in their bodies? Zhuo Yidao said to himself with a look of confusion. He had long heard of some secret rumors. There were some freakish geniuses in the transcendental world's national factions. They were born with the blood of the aboriginals, allowing them to possess all sorts of extraordinary cultivation and combat talents. And Yang Wu and the skinny monkey-like duo in front of him seemed to possess such characteristics. Let me give them a try. Zhuo Yidao thought for a moment. He used his hands to guide the array. He isolated everything in the purification pool. His king presence formed a handprint that pressed down on the two people in the pool. Chapter 143. Condensing one's aura into one's form was something that could only be done when one reached the middle level of King Realm. Thus, Zhuo Yidao's battle prowess was definitely not ordinary. The powerful handprint pressed down like a mountain, and the water in the purifying pool surged violently. The two people in the pool clearly felt the terrifying pressure, and they both reacted at the same time. Yang Wu's reaction was the fastest. His battle prowess was already above the skinny monkeys, and there was an indescribable surge of battle prowess leaking out from his body. A tortoise shadow appeared on his body, and he raised both his arms. One of his hands clenched into a fist, and the other opened his palm. The fist and the palm rose up at the same time, and the meridians and acupoints in his body all exploded. The Xian Qi in his 1,000 holes dantian floated like clouds, and instantly caused the water in the pool to rush up like a reverse waterfall, forming an extremely tyrannical power that blasted towards the handprint. Although the skinny monkey-like man's reaction was half a beat slower, his attack was the first to be launched. Red and golden light intertwined in his scarlet eyes, and in an instant they burst out. The power of his attack was actually not inferior to Yang Wu's, overturning the heavens. Boom! The three forces intertwined, and immediately caused a powerful explosion. The water in the pool instantly evaporated, and countless waves were stirred up. As for the soldiers outside the array, they were all shocked, and those who were not prepared fell down on the spot. For a moment, they all thought that there was an enemy attack, and their hearts were all flustered. What's going on? You scared me to death. Zhang Baobao, run! There's an enemy attack. Don't panic, everyone. There should be some abnormalities in the purifying pool, and the array is isolating it. Let's see what's going on. The purifying pool exploded for no reason. Above the valley, Zuidao saw that his aura and power were actually destroyed by the two unknown young men, and it did not cause any pressure to the two young men at all. This made him slightly surprised, and he said, unexpectedly, they have such a reaction. Not bad, let me try again. Zuidao once again increased his power, and this time, it condensed into two palms that dropped down from the sky, pressing towards Yang Wu and the skinny monkey respectively. Again, Yang Wu shouted in surprise and once again activated his power and violently attacked. This time, his strength had reached 100%, and he didn't hold back at all. This was because the opponent's aura and palm force were also stronger than before. The skinny monkey also shot out his eye technique once again. This eye light actually contained many special symbols, making the power of the eye technique even more terrifying and extraordinary. Another round of explosions occurred, and the purifying pool seemed to have been overturned. Zuidao's power was once again destroyed by the two teenagers, but he was not the least bit dissatisfied. Instead, he showed an even more joyful expression and said, "What a good seedling! Let me see where your potential limit is." This time, he wasn't simply using his aura. Instead, he directly used his profound energy. His palms pressed down, and two waves of profound energy rushed down. The power was more than 2 to 3 times stronger than before, and he had used at least 10 to 20% of his battle strength. Yang Wu looked at the power falling down again and had an impulse to curse. Is there an end to this? Yang Wu could feel that this time, his power was even stronger, and his fighting spirit had reached the peak. The blood in his body was constantly boiling, and in an instant, it gave him a feeling of invincibility. Once again, the power erupting from his body was doubled. The skinny monkey's body was covered in long hair, as if he had turned into an ape. A low roar came from his throat, and a broken stick appeared in his hand, and he hit the air. Boom! Boom! Wave after wave of power rang in their ears. The purifying pool was turned upside down, and the plants here were smashed. The soldiers stationed outside were scared witless. If Zuidao hadn't already transmitted a message to them not to panic, they would have already sounded the alarm for help. Attacks fell one after another, causing Yang Wu and the skinny monkey-like figure to be exhausted. Although they were able to block these attacks, their strength was rapidly shrinking. After all, their realm was still at the warrior level. Even with the blessing of their bloodline power, there was no way to continuously resist. Yang Wu's death energy was forced out, and the skinny monkey's body changed even more exaggeratedly. He had turned into a real ape, and his original appearance could not be seen at all. Just when Yang Wu and the skinny monkey were about to collapse, Zuidao finally stopped attacking. Yang Wu rolled his eyes and directly lay down in the water. He had the profound water pearl on him, so the water around him would not cause any harm to him. Instead, it was constantly replenishing his empty dantian. The skinny monkey was unable to maintain his bloodline power, and his body once again changed back to its original appearance. He directly fell into the water, unable to move. At this time, Zuidao stepped out from the mountainside. A pair of golden profound wings suddenly condensed on his body, allowing him to lightly float above Yang Wu and the skinny monkey. He looked down at them and said, "You're both not bad. Both of you can be this king's apprentices." Zuidao was already old, and because of his physical defects, it was difficult for him to go any further. He had already thought of withdrawing from the battlefield, but he still hoped that he could have a successor who could help him guard this territory. And the two youths in front of him were the candidates he most desired. If he could accept them as his apprentices, this border would have 2 new kings, who could protect this territory for 100 years. A king of the Earth-Sea realm. The skinny monkey exclaimed weakly. He was not like Yang Wu, who had seen a big scene. When he suddenly saw a king who could fly, he was very excited. Yang Wu calmly looked at Zhuo Yidao. He reluctantly stood up and cupped his hands to Zhuo Yidao. Yang Wu greets Darren. The skinny monkey hurriedly followed Zhuo Yidao's example, but his empty body made it difficult for him to float on the water, let alone stand. Zhuo Yidao waved his hand and said, "No need. This king wants to ask if you are willing to be my apprentices?" The skinny monkey immediately looked at Yang Wu. He was naturally very willing, but he cared more about Yang Wu's opinion. He wanted to see what Yang Wu's decision was first. Zhuo Yidao naturally noticed this detail and understood the relationship between the 2 youths. Yang Wu, on the other hand, did not expect that a king would suddenly want to take the 2 of them as disciples. His heart was instantly filled with joy, but he quickly calmed down. After Blackie had broadened his horizons with him, his horizons had broadened and broadened. They had offered demon kings as mounts, but they had rejected them. Even sky demon kings had been subdued by them, but they had not taken them seriously. Now that a human king wanted to take him as a disciple, his mood naturally faded very quickly. Wasn't Little Hay by his side the best teacher? Yang Wu replied, "Many thanks for Darren's kindness, but I already have a master. It's not good for me to join another faction." He paused for a moment, then looked at the skinny monkey and said, "If Darren doesn't mind, you can accept this brother of mine as your apprentice. I don't think he will refuse." "Big brother, if you don't take him as your master, I won't either," the skinny monkey said with certainty. "Skinny monkey, stop messing around," Yang Wu reprimanded. He then said, "It's our honor that this Darren thinks so highly of us. If Big Brother didn't already have a master, you would immediately kneel and take him as your apprentice. Why would you waste your breath?" Yes, that's right. Little brat, hurry up and take him as your master. If you miss this opportunity, you won't get another one," Zhuo Yidao said impatiently. One of the youths already had a master, so he could not force him. However, he did not want to miss out on the other youth who had undergone demon transformation. If anyone else saw the usually calm and steady Zhuo Yidao become like this, they would definitely be shocked. This one-armed war king had faced thousands of soldiers and thousands of horses on the battlefield, as well as many powerful enemies. Even then, he did not reveal any strange emotions. Now that he had lost his composure in order to take in a disciple, it was clear that he was eager to take him in. "Big brother, do you really want me to take this Darren as my master?" The skinny monkey asked Yang Wu for his opinion again. "Yes, you must. This Darren is a dignified king-level powerhouse. For him to take you in as his apprentice is a blessing accumulated over several lifetimes. If I didn't already have a master, I would definitely take him as my apprentice," Yang Wu said with absolute certainty. These words were very useful to Zhuo Yidao. He looked at Yang Wu and said, "Tell me who your master is. I will have him expel you from the sect. You 2 brothers can both join my sect." Yang Wu scratched the back of his head and said, "My master comes and goes without a trace. I don't know where he is either. A while ago, I met him in the Wolf Smoke Mountain range. At that time, he said that he wanted to capture a sky demon as a mount. If it wasn't for my master, I wouldn't have my current abilities. Therefore, I cannot be ungrateful. Therefore, I ask for Darren's forgiveness." Yang Wu's words were, of course, a lie. However, when Zhuo Yidao heard it, he had a different feeling. His heart was in turmoil as he thought to himself, "Capture a sky demon as a mount? This kid can't be lying to me, right?" He would rather believe this kind of thing than not believe it. He was afraid that some transcendence had come out of seclusion and had taken a fancy to Yang Wu's potential. Thus, they had accepted Yang Wu as their apprentice. No matter what, Zuoidao's cautious attitude made him dispel the idea of taking Yang Wu as his apprentice. He smiled and said, "Very good. You are a very loyal child. It is an honor for your master to accept you as his apprentice." Then, he looked at the skinny monkey and said, "This king is the previous Barbarian Suppression Army's Lieutenant General Zuoidao. It is not a disgrace for you to take me as your master. Furthermore, your body's bloodline has awakened. If there is no one to protect you, you will be rejected and die young. You should think about it carefully." This time, the skinny monkey was no longer pretentious. He didn't care that they were in a pool. He immediately knelt in front of Zuoidao and said, "This disciple greets master. Good, good. Come out of the pool first. This is not the place to put them," Zuoidao said happily. He stretched out his hand and grabbed Yang Wu and the skinny monkey together. Then, he quickly rushed to the mountainside where he had been sitting. When they landed, Zuoidao waved his hand and began to remove the array. The purification pool once again returned to its calm state. This was the mountainside next to the valley. It was a quiet and secluded paradise. Not only could it allow Zuoidao to overlook everything below and protect the purification pool, it could also allow him to cultivate peacefully without being disturbed. "Sundo, you can perform the apprenticeship ceremony again here," Zuoidao said solemnly to the skinny monkey. The skinny monkey solemnly bowed again. Yang Wu thought to himself, "Now, the skinny monkey has a backer. Even if something happens to me in the future, I don't have to worry about involving him."